Welcome back to the Rodcast, Tuesday edition of the Rodcast. We are jam-packed on the show as always. We'll get into Monday Night Football, the Steelers with the win over the Giants. There's something going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They seem to have found another quarterback. We'll get into that. We'll also talk Longhorn football, even though the Longhorns on a bye week. We'll hear from Steve Sarkisian on his Monday media availability. We'll get into that and talk about some of the topics and the questions that he brought up during that Monday media availability. We'll also get into this conversation about Quinn Ewers. Sark was actually asked about it as well, about Quinn Ewers. Is he becoming what they used to call in my day a check down Charlie? Right now, a lot of people are examining his average depth of target. We'll talk about that. It's become a topic of conversation among Longhorn fans. We'll also get into some other NFL news, notes, and nuggets. Yesterday, we talked a lot about the Cowboys and the Texans, so we'll get into all of the other NFL action that happened over the weekend. We'll do that next hour. We'll also have Rod's rant. The Chiefs make another move, so the rich get richer. They are going all in on this three-peat. We'll talk about that too coming up. The last undefeated team left in the NFL. We'll also get into a couple of other sports topics from around the world of sports. We'll get into, of course, your usual favorites. We got off the record. We got who said that. We got what the facts, what the stats. We got Rod's rant of the day. The topic for the poll of the day. Glad you could join us. Before we do any of that, let's introduce you to the rest of the crew. He's one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. Got a hustler spirit, period. Not sure what he's paid, but pretty damn sure the man is underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It is our friend, co-host, and neighbor. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good on a Tuesday morning, ready to kick things off. It is a bye week, so it means realized it's a bye week. And the Texans play on Thursday Night Football.
That's right.
I don't know how much how much football that I'm going to have to be glued to the TV for this weekend.
You mean like obligated to watch?
Like that. Well, that I'm going to sit down and care about immensely. Like, because I'll watch football, but like I'll watch the Cowboys. I don't watch the Cowboys the same way as I watch the Texans or the Longhorns.
Of course. Yes.
So you watch it and you say, you watch it and you go, okay, I'm watching what they're doing. I'm trying to do it more analytically and trying to. And I'm, you root for the Cowboys because you want the team to win, but at the same part, you're not as devastated, which is funny because this is a common thing I've now heard from Cowboys fans, that there is now a glaze over the fan base of just like, yeah, we get it. We don't care anymore. Like we weren't excited before the season, and now it's just what did we expect? So there's just
I agree with that. No, I mean, think about it. The Chiefs just made a move, right? They just got Josh Uche, the pass rusher from New England. We'll talk about that. But all the team, not all the teams, a lot. Some teams that needed to make moves. Listen, the Detroit Lions are scoring 50-some points on teams without Jared Goff throwing for 100 yards. So they don't have glaring deficiencies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, San Fran, I don't know if San Fran made big moves, but they didn't believe they had a glaring deficiency. And I don't think they did either. They were both of those teams were really close. Right?
Yeah.
Really. Hell, Detroit had a two touchdown lead on San Fran and should have beat San Fran. And then San Fran had a double-digit lead on Kansas City and should have beat them. So those teams are really close. So let's take them out of it. But the Bills, they made a move, right? Over the offseason, everybody kept talking about the moves the Texans were making. Texans just made a ton of moves. Like the Texans, they probably won the offseason. They made so many damn moves. Bills just made moves. Ravens made moves. Right, when got Derrick Henry, made moves. All these teams they thought they were close, they made moves. Bengals, I'm not sure the Bengals made a move, and look where they are. Right? You better make some moves. And the Cowboys, they didn't make any. The offseason, they didn't make any moves, and they still, even during the season, you see teams making trades. And the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins. Now the Josh Uche, remember they brought in Kareem Hunt. They were like, now we need a running back. Man, Brett Veach is not taking any chances with this three-peat. He wants it. He wants it bad. He knows. He's like, nah, man, we got a chance to make history. I'm not gonna sit back. I'm not gonna sit back and rest on our laurels. Yeah, we're good. We're undefeated. Don't matter. Nope, we're not taking any chances. If I see any, it's not even a glaring deficiency. If I just see any type of liability on the roster, he's like, making a move. Let's make a move right now. Right now he might be the most aggressive and the best GM in all the NFL.
I mean, considering the fact that he is continuing to push, understanding that the roster is not fully there yet. We're undefeated, but We ain't playing for the regular season, so we're playing for the postseason. We're going for it. And that what they're doing is just really impressive. But yeah, it's just I've noticed that was even my friends that are Cowboys fans that normally are, hit me up. Well, hey man, where are you watching the game? Where you not texting me this year? No one's doesn't feel like it's appointment viewing like it has been in years past. Because people are just like, no, I'll have it on, but I'm not
my weekend's not gonna revolve around it this time.
No, not gonna let it dictate. You go, oh man, that's not good for Jerry and his Brandon. I mean, he's still gonna be talked about every single week on all the news programs, on all the sports programs, because it's the Cowboys. But he's losing a little bit of that stranglehold, at least of the fan base right now. Not feeling it. So
selling hope. He's been selling hope for a while, and you can only sell it for so long. But you gotta, show some substance there. And I don't know. This season, I think it's particularly depressing to be a Cowboys fan, just because now you're watching. We'll talk about Washington in that division, and you're watching teams like Detroit, and you just watch what happened with San Fran, and you're not close.
No,
you're not close. Unfortunately, you're not.
No,
you're not close. You're not. You can lie to yourself and tell you were close when you were 12 wins. It's like, no, I think we're close. Now it's set in. It's pretty obvious. You're not close. You're not close. You got it. And I don't know if there is a chance for this roster to get there. I think you might have to reset some things to get there.
It's looking more like that, but that also means you might have to, I don't know, do something other than just draft players.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that would help out if you used any other avenue to get players than just drafting them.
Trade for a running back right now and trade for a D tackle, and I guarantee you, you're not going to become, what Detroit is overnight or San Fran, but you'd be a lot closer.
Yeah, but a lot closer. You'd be a lot closer. Let me introduce my co-host before we go any further. He's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is a new Rod, father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
Appreciate the intro. Yeah, I miss a lot of NFL topics. Of course, Cowboys are one of them. But now the Steelers. How about that? Steelers in that division right now, leading that division. Man, I'm trying to tell you, man, Mike Tomlin is a hell of a coach. He just needs a quarterback, like every great coach does.
Yeah.
I mean, there are very few coaches out there, very few that have been able to be high quality, high level coaches without some high level, high quality quarterback play. It's just, it's hard to do it. We were just talking about the Colts and Anthony Richardson. Like, man, there's no way they're going to be able to win it. You can't win games with your quarterback completing less than 50% of the passes in the NFL. It just ain't going to happen. Like, it's amazing that they've won as many as they have. That shows me that actually he might be a pretty damn good coach, because the Giants are dealing with it too. I think Brian Dable's actually a decent coach. I really do.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he can do it with Daniel Jones. I don't think he and Daniel Jones are going to be able to win games together.
No, I'll throw us in on the Steelers. Because we talked so much trash about him last year, is that Arthur Smith seems to be doing a good job changing up that OC position from Matt Canada, where it was one of the worst OC positions and everybody knew that offense was going to be terrible. That it's at least doing a better job this season of a guy who in the past made Ryan Tannehill a winning quarterback.
But as an OC, people forget.
I agree.
As a head coach,
I agree.
It's a very different different responsibility and burden. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I think he never became an imbecile offensively.
But that's my point. Is I think that I want to give him credit as an OC, because we talk trash. He was a bad head coach, but I'll give credit to him as an OC that he is part of that where they're 6-2, because he's making it work enough to play complementary football with the Mike Tomlin defense. Mm-hmm. And put things.
And he did it with Fields too. He did it with Fields. He was winning games with Justin Fields. I mean, what were they?
Yeah,
4-2, I believe, or something like
that.
No,
they were winning games with them. The offense looks a little better now with Russell Wilson.
No question. Yeah, no. I'll give you. I'll let you get to the horn headlines, and then I'll give you a couple of stats. But yes, there's no doubt. You're totally right about Arthur Smith, and I'll give Mike Tomlin credit for that, for bringing in Arthur Smith when he was, for a lot of folks, they thought public enemy number one. This guy doesn't know football anymore. And I will admit. We saw this. I swear I saw it with Bill O'Brien with the Texans. At one point, he was a decent head coach, and then they asked him to be the GM,
Yeah.
and they asked him to be the capologist, and then it made him a bad head coach. And I was like, he actually was a decent head coach, and then you gave him too much responsibility, and it made him bad. And I think that happens sometimes to, basically coordinators who want to become head coaches. It made him a bad offensive coordinator. It made him a bad play caller when he added the head coach responsibilities.
Yeah.
It was just too much
and it's
for him to have to do that, do basically both of those jobs. Now, some people can do them. I'm not saying they can't, but not every coach and play caller can do that. And I think for Arthur Smith, you got to be a separate one. And now maybe down the line, he's growth, and then he's more evolved as a head coach, and then maybe he'll be able to do that. But right now, in his development as a head coach and play caller, he couldn't do both. But as a coordinator and a play caller, he's awesome.
No,
one of the best in the league.
what those really great head coaches do, that's really hard to learn how to do, which is what Bill O'Brien is like. We talk about Mike McCarthy and not being involved in all the aspects, and just basically being like, I handle my part of the game and I deal with that. Robert Saleh had that problem. Robert Saleh was I handle the defense and we'll figure it out from there, and those head coaches that have issues because they don't have their hands in everything, you do have to have a piece of everything. But you also should have other people around you that you trust and are actually running things day to day. And then you join with them and have a collaborative effort. And Bill O'Brien in Houston was, I'm doing that, but you're not agreeing with everything I tell you. So I'm going to get you out and I'll take over because you're not just doing what I'm telling you. Yeah. And so I have to have complete control. And
because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yes. And they kept just giving him more power. And it was like, no, that's not the solution. Yeah. You need more checks and balances. He needs someone actually that can every now and then, all right, that can, refute what he says or disagree with him. And that's a healthy amount of disagreement you need to have within the organization. Yeah, I'm totally with. And then then the Jack used to be thinking anyway. But I totally agree with you. And I think for Arthur Smith, maybe later on down the line, he does become a really good head coach and play caller. But it's tough. That's not an easy thing to do. That's why Mike Tomlin years ago. I mean, Mike Tomlin was a hell of a defensive coordinator, guys, and play caller, and one of the best in the league. Hell, I was in the room with him when he was the DB coach for Tampa Bay before he became a defensive coordinator and play caller. But then after that, he decided, no, I want my hands in everything. And in order to do that, I need to delegate more. So I can't, and that I think some coaches, they decide that's their way. But now it's more and more popular that the head coach be also the play caller in some respect. That is right now, I think now all the rage, if you will. Like that is for most, a lot of NFL teams, they prefer to go that way rather than the CEO delegator that Tomlin has become.
No, I think, I think at this point, they're like, I'm paying you enough money. I'm doing this. You're supposed to be this great. If I just want a delegator, I'll delegate.
Yeah,
I can do that.
I'll do that now. I'm doing that with you.
I get it. No, but Arthur Smith's only 42, so it's not like
he's got time.
He's got plenty of time to continue to grow as a coach and as a facilitator, and being under Mike Tomlin is a great person to learn under of how to do that.
To learn how to be that delegate. Yes, that's a great point, and that may pay huge dividends. And the Steelers, the way they operate, they're not trying to. There's job security with the Steelers. Yeah. If you get the job,
Matt Canada was god awful and kept his job.
Kept the job because the Steelers don't operate that way. It's like, no, man, we ain't just firing people. We hired you to get the job done. We had faith in you, and it's more about they trust their process. It ain't really about you. They trust their process, and their process says, no, if you actually are the most qualified candidate based on our criteria, you deserve a shot. You deserve all the benefit of the doubt and all the chances we can give you. And that's what they've done with Tomlin. Some people are like, man, just move over Tomlin. And I've said Tomlin just needs a quarterback. He was still pretty good without a quarterback, but when you get him a quarterback, his Hall of Fame chops, they start to show because he's a Hall of Fame coach, and they start to show. And they starting to show right now. And Justin Fields was just a, decent, good quarterback. Now he's got a guy, Russell Wilson, who's having a just kind of revitalization. He's being revitalized as a quarterback. And I'll give you some numbers here after the headlines, but I don't know. This is the Russell Wilson we thought we were going to see in Denver that never showed up. And then we thought, oh, man, looks like he's at the end of his career. Looks like it's over for Russell Wilson. And it's possible that he's going to have, and we've seen these more and more in the NFL, one of these kind of reinvention stories at the quarterback position where it's a circuitous route to get there, but like kind of like a Jared Goff, you look around, you go, "Hey, I think he might be the quarterback for them." And it looks like they're a bridge quarterback at first, and then turns out it's like, "Oh man, you're more than a bridge quarterback." Geno Smith with the Seahawks, those kinds of stories.
Yeah.
It might be that for the time being until they can figure out a plan to get the future franchise guy. This might work out, but we'll see. It's only 2 games in, so
it's too good. Yeah, they'll adjust everything. But yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson's always been a really good deep ball thrower. He's had a lot of talent in what he did. I think it's just, he went to Nathaniel Hackett as a head coach, and that's not going to help you out a lot.
That was I forgot about the Hackett thing. I did. Oh yeah, that did not help his situation. No, but then Sean Payton didn't like him either. Sean
Payton came in and was basically told by ownership and management, get him to break his contract.
Yeah.
Like if you can get him to fight you on the sideline, we might be able to get out of this bad deal we signed. That was literally part of what happened last season. So
yeah, no, that was dysfunction. You're right about that. I forgot. Yeah, I almost forgot the drama that was also involved with it. Listen, his bad play was part of it, but yeah, that was a lot of drama surrounding Russell Wilson. That was really tough for him to be in a situation to succeed there, considering all the politics and drama happening around it. But right now with the Steelers, that's the exact opposite, right? Ain't no politics, ain't no drama with the Steelers. The Steelers don't operate that way. They don't like salacious headlines. That kind of stuff those tactics you were talking about with Denver, although that happens around the league, it's not really the way the Steelers operate. They don't do that. And it might be the perfect place for a Russell Wilson to have his resurgence as a quarterback. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, like a lot of NFL news notes. Of course, we'll talk some Texas football as well. But first, let's hit those horn headlines. Let's get educated. Let's get updated. Let's get informed with all the top stories of the day with my man Patrick Davis and the horn headlines.
All right, your horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the NBA, the Rockets got their win back from Saturday with a 106-101 victory over the Spurs last night. Jalen Green once again led the way with 36 points, while Victor Wembanyama had a 20-rebound night for the Spurs. And Kyrie Irving stepped up for the Mavs in a 110-102 win over the Jazz with 23 points and 9 assists. Mavericks are back in action tonight against the Timberwolves. And in the World Series, the Dodgers took a commanding 3-0 series lead last night, picking up a 4-2 win with the Yankees' ninth inning rally falling short. New York will look to Aaron Judge to finally get going as he has gone 1 for 12 with 7 strikeouts in the series. Luis Gil is a scheduled starter for the Yankees tonight with everyone available in the bullpen trying to avoid the sweep. And in the NFL, the Steelers improved to 6-2 on the season after a 26-18 win over the Giants on Monday Night Football. Calvin Austin returned to punt for a touchdown and caught a pass for a touchdown in the game to help the Steelers get the win. And that is your horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the horn headlines there. Yeah, I mean, the Steelers offense, the Steelers have an offense. I mean, for the last few years, we've talked about how the Steelers have really struggled on the offensive side of the ball. You brought up Matt Canada. He was one of the main culprits in that offensive ineptitude for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But listen to this now. Listen to these numbers for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the offense. In the last 2 weeks since Russell Wilson took over, in total yards, they're 4th, yards per pass attempt, 4th, yards per rush, 4th, tied for 1st with 10-plus yard plays. EPA per drive, they're 7th. EPA per snap, they're 6th. And Russell Wilson, among all quarterbacks in that time span, just the last 2 weeks, 6th in yards, passing yards per game, 6th in yards per attempt, the 6th most touchdowns scored, and the 7th overall in passer rating. The Steelers have put up 63 points, guys, in the last 2 weeks. The last time they put up that many points in back-to-back games was weeks 10 and 11 of 2020. It's been a while. And him and Pickens already seem to have some chemistry going the last couple of weeks. I think the last 2 weeks, they're almost close to up to 200 yards receiving for Pickens in the last 2 weeks. So he looks to him in a lot of critical situations. I don't know. It's right now it's working better than it did with Justin Fields. So it justifies the move because they were winning when Justin Fields was in there. They were winning. And a lot of people thought it was controversial. Hey, why would you, bench a quarterback that's winning games? And he clearly stated that Russell Wilson was their starter. And now this is the Steelers' second game with 400-plus total yards in the last 2 weeks. They had just one in the 6 games that Justin Fields started, they had one game where they got up to at least 400 yards. It's working really well. Arthur Smith, the Russell Wilson connection with Pickens, the way they're running the offense, they put him on the center, probably a little more than probably that he's been in a long time. I think it's actually really good, the compatibility with Russell Wilson's skill set and what Arthur Smith is doing. It seems like right now it's a home run, and they're winning the division, which is, considering how tough that division is, that's really impressive for the Steelers now to be winning that division after changing quarterbacks. And you look at it right now for the Steelers. Say, what are they, 6-2, and they're in a really good spot right now because that offense is just starting to find its groove, and there's not a lot of film out there on how Arthur Smith is going to use Russell. So it's going to take the league about maybe another 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get a good sample size of film, what they do, how they do it, what their tendencies and trends are. Right now, they don't really have any. They're just establishing, what the tendencies and trends are and the strengths and weaknesses. So I got to go look at the schedule, but they're in a really good position right now. They put themselves in a great position, and in a division that's so tough. I talk about this all the time. Nobody's better at winning one-score games in the league than Mike Tomlin. Best in the league. Like, the numbers bear that out. Last year, they were 9-2 in one-score games. Since 2020, nobody's been better in one-score games. They've had, I think, half of their games this season so far probably been one-score games, just the way the Steelers operate. It may not be the case anymore. Now that they have an offense, they may start pulling away from some teams. We'll see. But that's right now, especially with the way the offense is playing. They've always had defense. We know that. Steelers are always going to have a defense. That's the calling card for Mike Tomlin. But now they can score some points. Russell Wilson looks like him and Justin Fields. There's no drama there. Justin Fields said that growing up, one of his favorite quarterbacks to watch was Russell Wilson and Cam Newton. So apparently he is, still, very invested with the team. He's not disgruntled as a result of him being benched. No, Steelers got something going on.
They do.
Pay attention.
And remember, we talked at the beginning of the year about who had the hardest schedule to finish out the year. And it was the Steelers. And so, because they don't even begin playing they don't play their first division opponent until not even next week, but the week after.
Okay. Yeah.
So they have basically left on their schedule all their division games. In a tough division. Now, we don't know what Jameis Winston's going to do in Cleveland.
I say that could go either way.
And we know the Bengals are good, but they're bad. So they have a lot of talent, but they're a 3-5 team. So is that division more winnable this season?
Let's say you split them. Let's say they split with everybody pretty much, except maybe the Ravens, but the Ravens just lost to the Browns. So it's not,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they know.
No, I know Mike Tomlin does well in that division.
Yeah, it's kind of a 50-50. I would say 50-50. It's a coin toss for them. I say
then they'd have 3 more losses. The other 3 games they have left are the Commanders, the Eagles, and the Chiefs.
Oh, damn. I'll say a loss to the Chiefs, obviously, and then the Commanders. Honestly, we'll get into that, man. There's something magical happening with the Commanders. We'll get into the Hail Mary a little bit later on the show, too.
No, they have
so that's not against. Maybe I'll just go 1-2. So I'll go 4 more losses. I'll go 4 losses, and that will put them at 11-6. 11-6, right? Yeah. 11-6. So, okay, I can see that. All right, 11-6 or 10-7. They can have another loss on there. They can lose. They can lose to. I can see them losing to another division foe, or losing more. They have games down the stretch.
They have one of those Christmas Day games as well. So
on a short week or something.
Yeah, where that Wednesday night or that Wednesday day game against the Chiefs on Christmas is going to be.
It's 10-7 enough to get them in. I think it should be. I haven't looked around. It should be. Right?
It should be. I mean, to get in at this point,
to get in, it should be. I don't know if you win a division like that. The Ravens could make a move there in their division. Honestly, the Browns are still alive. I think they would have to go on a serious run here, but I think the Browns are still alive. How is it that it's got to be the ultimate insult to Deshaun Watson, and they got to do something. I mean,
the Browns are alive, but failed. They're alive if they basically win out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they would have to go on a hell of a run. They'd have to go on a hell of a run here to do it. But I bet mathematically they're probably still alive. But Yeah, how much of the team has basically decided to check out is a question for the Browns.
No, I mean, they already traded Amari Cooper as well. They may trade other players before.
But it's amazing that they're able to beat Baltimore. Jameis Winston running that offense. Last year, they made the playoffs with Joe Flacco. There's so much talent on that Cleveland roster.
It is.
They're so dejected because of the Deshaun Watson situation. They got to get it. They got to get rid of him. It's like toxic to the.
Well, yeah, and now
the Browns are the epitome of dysfunction, but they're worse. Like with him, just his presence there.
Oh no! I don't know how. And now that he got hurt, and you're like, well, maybe he make it back for next season. But knowing his injury history, there's almost no chance he starts. He's there at training camp or any of that next season.
Yeah. I don't know what it's crazy that Jameis Winston was able to inspire that team and lead them to a victory. They obviously don't want to play for Deshaun Watson. It's just like that's a talented team. That team's got talent. It's a playoff team last year with a backup quarterback. And remember how many injuries they had last year? I think they were the most injured team, ended up making the playoffs too. And now you see the way they play without Deshaun Watson with Jameis Winston there, who's Jameis Winston is high risk, high reward. He was way more reward than risk in that game. But a team that's a 2-win team, a 1-win team at the time, they don't play like that unless they feel freed. They feel like, oh, finally, we got a quarterback a quarterback we like that we want to play for. That's troubling.
It is, and I think
you're like the executives there, that's trouble.
Yeah, I think you kind of the Browns have always had this underdog mentality, but then you can't really when you have this quarterback that you're loaded roster, and so it didn't feel like they wanted to play as an underdog, but they still are scrappy. And then the day you can play as an underdog, well, we're playing the Ravens. No one expects us to win. Our quarterback's out. We got this backup. Well, now we're going to come out and fight like underdogs.
And obviously Baltimore underestimated them. I'm sure that was the case too. But yeah, no, I just think they were inspired to play for a different quarterback. They no doubt about that. But okay, speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about the Longhorns quarterback. We'll talk some more NFL. We'll get into that later on. We'll get into it next hour and talk about some of the other big stories from our league. We'll get into the Hail Mary win for Washington. Maybe something special is happening there. We'll also dive into the 50 burger that Detroit put on Tennessee, the most unlikely 50 burger in the history of the NFL, actually. I'll trust me, I'll give you the stat. It's just mind-blowing. We'll dive into that a little bit, and we'll also talk about the Kansas City Chiefs making a move. The rich get richer, signing a pass rusher, Josh Uche, trading for Josh Uche from the New England Patriots. We'll get into that coming up a little bit later on the show too. But first, let's talk some Texas football. We'll hear from Steve Sarkisian at his Monday media availability yesterday. He was asked a lot of questions, and one of them I think was expected, and I think Sark was ready for it because he had a quick comeback for it. And I think that Sark may have been he may have been paying attention to social media or maybe to the narrative about his quarterback and what's going on, because he did seem a bit I don't know. He just seemed a bit annoyed by the question. It was like the first question about that. But his response made it seem like he had been either asked about it a lot, or he has been addressing it a lot, or seen it on social media, which it did. It took fire on social media yesterday. And we were talking about it too. We talked about, how many passes he had within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and how they started off the game with trying to get Quinn in the groove, and there were no full field read progressions. Everything was quick, pretty much a wide window schemed up check down. Pretty much for Quinn. His first pass that was past, I think, 5 yards was that Amari Niblack. Remember that Amari Niblack over route from that Yankee wave, that rainbow crosser? That was the first one, and that was like on a third drive of the game. He only had 4 completions past 10 yards. He only threw the ball past 10 yards 9 times. But yet, you saw Quinn, 17 of 17 at one point. You saw Quinn, I thought played one of his better games this season. Did have the 2 tipped interceptions, was sacked 4 times, but that's not all on Quinn. But Longhorn fans were not pleased with what they saw because they wanted to see Quinn push the ball downfield. And then a couple of stats came out reflecting Quinn's conservative, or at least the passing games now, conservative approach, these extended handoffs, these extensions of the running game, these detached screens all over the place. Sark talked about it, and he addressed it yesterday. He also addressed it in the post game too, and talked about how they played a lot of too high shells, a lot of deep safeties, and they're gonna play deep safeties. And they're gonna give you the underneath, and they're gonna give you the quick passing game. Why not take it? They're going to give you the numbers advantage. So we'll play that audio. We'll also dive into that stats, the average depth of target for Quinn. That's got some people a little bit concerned. I think the trend is concerning, not the stat itself, but the trend is concerning if you look at Quinn's tenure here at Texas. So we'll talk about that. We'll give you the numbers, all of that and more. We'll talk some Texas football on the outside when we go behind the burnt orange curtain right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Local, and Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get into some Texas football conversation. Sark spoke to the media yesterday, some Monday media availability. It is a bye week for the Longhorns, and they got some things they got to work on. So, perfect time for that bye week for Texas. One of the things that caught fire via Twitter from Longhorn fans, and I saw it yesterday too, and we've talked about how Sark right now has dialed back the passing game and using a lot of the quick passes, the short passes as an extension of the running game. When we've gone over that a few times, this stat actually came out yesterday via social media, and it pointed out that right now, if you look at Quinn's average depth of target, his A dot, as they call it, it is at this point 5.9 yards. His A dot. This comes from Cody Carpenter. Shout out to him for throwing out the stat over at Orange Bloods. And it says that Quinn Ewers A dot 5.9 yards in 24, ranked 79th out of 79 quarterbacks in the Power Four. And so, yeah, that went viral. A lot of Longhorn fans who didn't even know what A dot was or cared what A dot was started diving into the stat. And it is. I mean, it just shows you that that's the average, when he attempts to throw the football downfield to any receiver. That is the average, length of basically any pass attempts, 5.9 yards. By the way, we talked about this with Patrick Mahomes a lot. Patrick Mahomes right now has one of the lowest A dots in all of the NFL because the Kansas City offense is largely a yak offense. Yak offense, yards after the catch offense. That's what you're looking at, your quarterback who can get the ball accurately to your weapons on the outside for yak opportunities. Quinn, the troubling thing is not the 5.9 or A dot. That's not troubling because even in the Michigan game, when I go back and look at the Michigan game, and everybody loved the Michigan performance, right? Everybody thought it was an amazing performance, and it was. It was like you could argue that was the best game Quinn has played. His A dot was just 6 yards. I mean, it didn't have an amazing A dot there either, but even myself, I was like, he put the cape on in that game. He had a higher Pro Football Focus grade versus pressure than he did from a clean pocket. He was amazing in that game. And now everybody's got a problem with him having a 5.9 A dot, even though against Michigan, it wasn't that big of a deal. And even this season, he's had, I'll give you his A dot so far this season, 6.3, 6, 6.2, 6, 5.8, 5.5. So essentially, you must have had a problem with the A dot the entire season because he's essentially been that quarterback all year long, even in the Michigan game when we all agreed he played the best game one of the best games we've seen him play. Also, he's never really had a great deep ball, guys. Remember, he struggled throwing. That's why Sark stopped throwing it. Sark wants to throw the deep ball. Remember, I used to joke that Sark was addicted to the deep ball, that he had this sick fixation with the deep ball. It's like, stop throwing it. I need the deep ball, baby. Throw me that deep ball. Remember? I used to have a whole bit about it for 2 years. Sark curtailed the deep ball because he wasn't good at throwing the deep ball. And the truth is, if you go look at his deep ball rate prior to the injury, it was 9.3% of his attempts, and after his injury, it's 9.7% of his attempts. Still throwing the deep ball around the same rate that he's been throwing the deep ball. The behind the line of scrimmage passes, they're about the same, 32% to 33%. The percentage of attempts that are short, 40% to 37%. Not a lot has changed, guys. You know what's changed? Y'all seen Arch. That's what's changed. That's what's changed. Up to this season. That's basically what's changed. Y'all got a chance to see Arch. And what does Arch do? Chicks dig the long ball, and so does Arch. Our first game, Arch came in, they launched like 10 deep balls. They weren't even great deep balls. And y'all know it too. We were to say he probably shouldn't throw so many deep balls. He probably should take the check down a little bit more. And now you're like, man, he take the check down too much. Check down Charlie. He should throw it deep more. It's like, I get it. Trust me, I get both sides of it. But the truth is, the only thing that's really changed your perspective, the biggest thing about that in terms of how they distribute the football to different levels of the defense is really you've seen Arch. And y'all like the way Arch throws the football downfield. And I said it. I said it before Arch played. Everybody said, oh, Arch is going to throw it deep. I told you guys. It was a Black Shell prediction. I said, Arch is going to throw it deep. I didn't know he'd throw it deep 10 times in the game. I said, but he's going to throw it deep a little bit more than Quinn because he likes throwing the deep ball. He prefers to go deeper into progressions. That's just what he does naturally as a QB. And with Quinn, that's not the way Quinn operates. Quinn prefers the short to intermediate, which he's great at the short to intermediate and behind the line of scrimmage throws. So really I understand why and now here's the troubling trend. But it's not troubling. It just shows you how the offense has changed now because Sark realizing what Quinn's strengths and weaknesses are, he has now decided to make the offense, mold it around and craft it around those strengths and weaknesses. Quinn's average depth of target his first year, 10.5 yards. Average depth of target in his second year, 8.4, and now it's 5.9. He literally has taken that. That's been his progression of his A dot. 10.5, 8.4, 5.9. Over his career is 8.6. Because Sark used to like the deep ball. And so I was like, he's going to throw a deep ball. He's got a golden arm. He's got the golden arm. He can he can touch any blade of grass on the football field. Yes, he can. He can. But can he do it accurately? And can he do it under pressure? And can he do it with, with great ball placement? And they couldn't always do that. You had the fastest wide receiving core in college football with AD Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. And we were one of the worst deep ball passing teams in all of college football. And I think with that realization, Sark said, okay, well, if I got the best deep ball weapons and I got a quarterback with a golden arm and I still can't make it work, I got to change this offense. I'm hurting myself more than helping myself. And when he lost Bijan, you lost the ability to be in 2nd and 10 and go, put some Bijan on it with a side of Rojo, we'll be fine. And you were, because Bijan taking the 2nd and 10, taking to 3rd and 4 every damn time. Just hand it off to Bijan. So those first down, you 50% of your bombs, your deep balls were on first down. You just chunking the deep on first down, trying to take people by surprise, which was great. But also when you didn't connect, put them behind the chains. And then without Bijan, I think Sark realized I can't do that. I can't do that. And then I'm consistently behind the chains. I cannot operate that way. And something to consider this year too, guys. You don't have a running game really. Listen, I know you got ways, but you don't have a dominant running game. This guy's used to having a 1,000-yard rusher for the last 12 years calling plays. He ain't got that. So essentially now that short passing game, that is also part of your running game. It's just supplementing your running game. That's like 30 to 40% of your run game now too, by the way. Because you lost your starting running back, and your offensive line is not proven to be a dominant one that can impose its will. And you don't have that bell cow running back. That's your running game, guys. That's like 30% of your running game now. So you got to look at the way the offense is changing, and it has changed too. Don't just look at, this season and your obsession with Archmania and then let that distort your perception of Quinn and the offense. You got to understand the evolution and why it's changed. Sark likes the deep ball, guys. He wants to throw it too. He just can't because his quarterback, that's not what his quarterback does. His quarterback's not a great deep ball thrower. Never really has been. Now, I think also that's part of the offense's adjustment and adaptation to what the defense is allowing them to do. Now, here's the part about from Sark that in the Vanderbilt game, a lot of it early on, they were playing a lot of too high deep safeties. They were giving you the numbers advantage underneath, and they were giving you the run game early. They were giving you light boxes early. So here's Sark when he was asked about why you're throwing so many shallow underneath passes in that Vanderbilt game. Was that part of the strategy in the game plan?
Yeah, Quinn is really elite. He can get the ball out of his hands so quickly and so accurately. I think back to DeAndre's second touchdown. I mean, that was some really high level stuff. I mean, he's got a blitzer in his face, and he's able to catch and get that ball out. And as accurate as the ball was, DeAndre never had to break stride, and then he's able to make the safety miss for a touchdown. The screen game's critical to what we do. The shallow cross game, the check downs to the running backs are so big to what we do. I mean, I don't know if people know this. We don't throw it deep all the time, but every team we play seems to think that we do. And so it's like they just love to back up. And so the value in getting the ball to our running backs in space, with them to be able to make people miss, even in the 3rd and 2, the ball to Trey Wisner that Quinn hits him on is a critical play in a first down. So the advantages for us to getting players that are really versatile that can do those things is huge for us. And then having the quarterback who can distribute the ball like Quinn can in those arenas.
Yep. I mean, so if you look at it, basically he had 12 passes behind the line of scrimmage. Add that to the run game, guys. Just add that to the run game. Like, just consider that a rushing play. And whatever the rushing attempt is, add that 12 to the rushing. That was Sark trying to get basically a run game, but he can't do it in a traditional sense. He can't do it because his offensive line is not that dominant right now. And so that's, to me, that's what he's saying there. No, that we're taking what they're giving. Now, later on, he's asked about the basically why he's asked again, reiterating, why were there so many short passes for Quinn? And I believe this is my man CJ Vogel over at On Texas Football. Here's Sark's snarky response.
Tell him to move up, then we'll throw it over. They played man-to-man on one snap that wasn't in the red area. We threw a touchdown pass over their head. Tell them to move up.
And I believe he's referring to the DeAndre Moore touchdown.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. Oh, yeah, we can actually hear Sark talking about that one as well, because he gets into that too. That's 7. Can we get cut 7 ready to go? Quinn, change the play in motion, please, Patrick. But getting back to what he said. So that's another part of it too that we talked about a little bit, but he brought up the kind of the propaganda that has also led to the perception of Texas. Like, think about it. You had Xavier Worthy break the 40-yard dash record at the combine. Everybody's like, whoa, that's crazy. And A.D. Mitchell was also one of the fastest receivers at the NFL combine. And then all throughout offseason, I was like, Texas, they might have the fastest receiving core in the nation. It's faster than it was last year. Like, it's faster than it was last year. You had Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell. How can it be faster than it was last year? Like, that was a propaganda around this offense, right? Say, oh man, they're gonna be a team that's loaded with wide receiver weapons, and they are. They're really deep. I think that actually has materialized and come to fruition. But that's Sark saying everybody thinks we're gonna throw it deep, and if you watch us, we don't throw it deep. I don't know why everybody's backing up. He's like, why y'all backing up? We don't throw it deep. Y'all just scared because of what y'all heard about us that we can throw it deep and hurt you. Why are you backing up? We only throw it deep like 9% of the time. Why the hell are y'all so deep? I know I think he's kind of frustrated. I think he wants to take some shots. He's like, what the hell, man? Why y'all backing up? Why y'all got 2 and 3 deep safety? We throw it deep 9% of the time. And my quarterback's not even really good at throwing it deep. Why the hell are y'all so far back there? We're throwing it underneath. I'm telling you, hey, I'm going to throw it right here to the flat here. You got to come up and tackle it. And you don't want to creep up and try to tackle this thing. You want to tackle in open space with 9 yards between you and the ball carrier. I don't want to do that as a defender. I can tell you that right now. I would be creeping up if I was a defender. I'm like, no, hell no. I'm not back. No, I know what they're going to do. They're going to throw these damn screens, these detached screens all day long. All right. And then every now and then when they catch us slipping, they want to try to throw it over our heads. But if you're Georgia, and the concern is if you meet up with a team like Georgia, Georgia can do both. Georgia can straight up stop your quick screen game to the outside, and they can stop your extensions of your running game. And before you can make them pay over the top, they'll get home on you. Quinn will be under duress before he can even get to those progression reads down the field. That's what a Georgia can do for, and that's the concern going forward. Is there another team on the schedule that can do that? Now, there's Georgia. Not every team can do that. They can situationally, maybe they do it schematically, but they can't do that. Now, could an A&M do that? Maybe. They may have some pieces to do that. That's kind of the formula. Do you have the skill talent in the back seven to smother the screens and smother the quick game for Texas? And do you have a pass rush that can make Texas pay before they get over the top of you and make you pay for your aggression? And Georgia had it. And honestly, no other team really. Michigan couldn't even do it.
Nope.
Michigan didn't have the dogs to do it. They did, and Michigan's got like 4-5 NFL players on that route. Nope.
No, in Michigan, that was Michigan too. They tried to do it, and Gunnar Helm was wide open over and over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. Like they couldn't do it.
They said, we're going to stop all your receivers. We're going to really help out the linebackers helping out in space. And Gunnar Helm would just pop wide open.
Yep. Yeah.
Because you go, there's another weapon you can push out there.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really tough. I'm with you. I don't know if anybody else can do it. But Sark did sound frustrated. He wants to throw a deep guy.
No, of course. I always equate things. It's easy of like playing Madden. And you go, if you play Madden and you have Lamar Jackson, and the guys you're playing against just play 2 QB spies every game, every play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're like, I just want to run with Lamar Jackson. That's all I want to do. And y'all are not letting me do it. I get that things are open, and I get I can move the ball down the field, but you just keep taking away the fun part for me.
Yes.
That's kind of what Sark is like. He's playing a game. He's like, I get I can win, but this is supposed to be fun, and it's not. But it's also part of, we don't want you to beat us in one play. We want you to have to beat us 20 plays in a row. And if you do, what event would it work for Vanderbilt? You're going to get penalties.
Yep.
You're going to make mistakes. We're going to get, the ball bounce our way. So the more plays we can make you make, the better chance we have that something goes our way in those plays. And so there's part of the mindset of, we get it. You're going to score on us either way. Why don't we make it harder on you?
Yep. Yeah.
And I think especially with this defense for Texas now, teams are not necessarily in the let's get into a shootout and just give us the ball back and we'll be able to score and we'll go back and forth. I don't know if teams want to get into that war with them right now as much as you'd rather let's play field position.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's the only way to score in Texas. They've allowed 10 scoring drives the last 2 games, and only two of those are over 38 yards. I mean, you ain't getting long drives on this defense.
Yeah.
You bet. Like I said, so field position, that is your friend. You got to stop the Texas and then hopefully make a play on special teams. That's how you score on the Texas defense. All right, good stuff there. All right, we come back. We'll got the topic for the big fat poll of the day, and we'll also get into your musically themed day of the week right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Low Horn. Rod Davis coming back on the Horn.
Back on the Rodcast on a Tuesday morning, and that means it's a top of the charts Tuesday of playing songs that were number one this day in history. And it is Halloween week, so we know it was number one this day in history back in the 60s. It was the Monster Mash. Kicking things off on a top of the charts Tuesday. I keep forgetting that this week is Halloween. That's how I know I'm really old now. Is I've reached the age where there's no parties. Now that I'm just
Halloween is it's an age defined holiday pretty much for you because it you go through phases with it, right?
Yeah.
As a kid, it's like the second best holiday behind Halloween. behind Christmas.
Candy.
Like it is. It's just free candy, and it's like
Dress
what is
up,
going
go
on?
hang out with all your friends and get candy.
And let me keep the candy.
Everyone
Like,
gives you attention and tells you how awesome you look. So all just good things.
It's great things. Like, and candy is like currency when you're a kid, man. Might as well just be giving you money.
Hey, would you like to be to be a superhero? Everyone tell you look great. Hang out with your friends and get candy.
Stay up late.
Yeah.
Damn late. And maybe you can watch a scary movie potentially too. Oh man, Halloween is awesome. And then you go through kind of mischievous phase. Like when you're a teenager, it's kind of weird when you became a teenager and then you're going trick or treating. You can't do that, so you're kind of mischievous on that. I don't know. You're probably doing something like doing something that's either borderline illegal or or you're out there
or just straight illegal.
Or just straight illegal. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because because honestly, that's what you do when you can't really trick or treat anymore, but you still want to go out and hang out with your friends. And then when you get into your early 20s, then it becomes, oh man, then you get to go out and all the ladies are dressed scantily clad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, then it's fun because then you got Halloween parties. You got Halloween party phase in your early to mid 20s. And then, once you get into your like late 20s and early 30s, I think you kind of just phase out of Halloween. I think either you got kids at that point to start it, and then you start your parent Halloween phase, which I'm about to start now. I'm getting my parent Halloween.
Yeah,
phase, my first,
because I still have, I still had in my 30s. You had parties, but they were a little bit more calm.
Yeah.
And so you had it, but it was like, oh no, and then like maybe we'll have the trick or treat, like we'll be at a house, and then or we'll all go hang out and then hand out candy to kids. But it won't be crazy, but we'll all hang out.
You're not taking shots all the time.
Or you go down and there'll be like a big show or something, and everybody's dressed up, and you have a good time at a show. Yeah. And so there's all that, but now it's just like I know there's a few shows happening, but it's on a Thursday too, and now I do the morning show. I can't be rolling in here just half-cocked, 2 hours sleep.
That's a great term, half-cocked. That is a great term. Oh yeah, I love that. I haven't heard that term in years and know exactly what you mean. Yep, half-cocked. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm trying not to do that on Friday. So see, Halloween may be pretty boring for me. But there we go. Kicking off top of there. She's like, let's get a big fat poll today. Text line's open 512-447-3776. We'll get this posted up on X at the Horn ATX.
Patrick's big fat poll of the day on the Horn.
Big fat poll of the day today. We were just talking about Texas throwing the football, and it leads kind of into this. What does Texas need to work on the most during the bye week? What do you say is the most important thing that you would say Sark needs to focus on the most, and this team needs to focus on the most during the bye week? I'll give you a couple of ones that I thought of. If you got one that's better than that, feel free to throw out. Rod, feel free to throw one out. Penalties. Say penalties overall, just holdings, false starts, those types of things. That one. Pass protection between the O-line, between the tight ends, between the running backs, pass protection overall. Downfield passing. Let's say downfield passing. Do they need to work on trying to figure out a way, even when there's coverage and guys are sitting back, finding a way to move the ball downfield and get more big plays? And throwing the run game. Do they need to figure out a way to just get natural run game, trying to get the ball moving downfield against some different opponents? Is that something that you feel they need to work on and try and improve during this bye week? If you have another one, feel free to throw it out. I think those are the main.
Those are good.
The main four things that I would say that you can kind of build on a little bit during this bye week, and are probably four of the bigger problems that people see with this Texas team. People I've talked to, that these are the things they reference the most of why Texas is going to have struggles.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I'm torn between a lot of them. Actually, I'm torn, but mostly penalties. I'm trying to go the things I think they can fix. The penalties you can fix, man. Yeah, that is, you can. I'm gonna start with the things I think that are not easiest to fix, but the things that I believe are most within their. Well, I say that in the referees, but either way, they got to fix the penalties because you can't control what the officials are going to do. Mac Bryan used to always say, "Players play, coaches coach, officials officiate." What they need to do is there's obviously a difference in the Big 12's interpretation of some of these rules, especially holding, than there is for the SEC. They need to make clips, right? Video clips of plays, basically good examples of it, plays where the officials thought that was within the parameters of the rules of whatever holding and whatever call that is. And then they need to make a video clip, or at least a video montage of the holding clips, like the holding calls, what they consider to be holding, and try to find what their definition of holding is. I know you used to be able to, you can, maybe in the offseason, you can have officials come in and they explain all this stuff to you. They explain and I'm sure they already did that, but on the field, real time is something different. So number one, the visual, I would make, video montages. Mac would do it of the good examples and the bad examples so guys can see it. Bring in some officials who are going to interpret it like the SEC officials bring them into practice so that they can call it in practice. So the guys, they can start practicing and actually, replicating whatever that technique is that they need to adjust to. And then guys have to be ready to adjust and modify, their technique, whatever it may be. That's individually. Guys need to take some ownership and responsibility themselves about that. Now, some of these are ghost calls and don't make any damn sense. The gunner helmet, I get that.
Yep.
But you gotta try to cut down on those. And then the pre-snap penalty. Come on, there's no excuse really for the pre-snap penalties for those guys too. Any of those?
No. I get it's hard. It's hard to do. There's gonna be a few in the season, but
of course
they can't be every game.
18 penalties in the last 2 games. That's way too many penalties.
Yep. Too many penalties, too many sacks, not enough downfield throws, and not enough running the ball. That's why I said it. The last couple games, those have all been issues that people are complaining about. So we'll put that up and let you figure out and let you guys vote what you think. I know in the text line right now, very much a lot of penalties and discipline, but we're getting a little bit of everything that people want changed up.
I know. I'm going to start tracking. I know they give you how many penalties guys have individually, but I don't know if they give you the actual penalty, they were called for. Gotta go try to find how many pre-snaps and how many holding calls they've been called for. I'll go get that information. I'll try to find it for you guys. But anyway, that's the topic for the Big Fat Pro Day. Always a great conversation starter. Thank you for that, Patrick. We appreciate it. We come back. We'll dive into some of the NFL stories from around the league this past weekend that we didn't get to yesterday because we talk a lot of Cowboys, talk a lot of Texans. There were some wild stories from around the league, including Detroit and a 50 burger that they put up. We'll also get to the most unlikely 50 burger that you would get probably in NFL history. There was a Hail Mary over the weekend that we didn't get to. So we'll get to the Hail Mary with Jaden Daniels and the young phenom. Also, the Aggies. We got to talk about the Aggies. I know. Trust me. I didn't want to get into it either. But the Aggies are the only team right now that controls their fate in the SEC after their big win over LSU. And Mike Elko, their coach, is he's talking a little trash, but to nobody in particular. But he wants people to know that his program is a real program. Oh, yeah, real. We'll talk about that, and we'll hear from Mike Elko, the Aggies head coach, on the other side as well. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when my co-host, the Idealionaire Patrick Davis, that's when he plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. So we appreciate all of his efforts and his creativity. Also, he hooked us up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day. That's already up at the Horn ATX on X. You can go vote on it. Patrick, what is the topic for the big fat poll of the day?
Topic for the big fat poll today: what does Texas need to work on most during the bye week?
Yep. Penalties, pass protection, downfield passing, or the run game. Honestly, it all comes back to the O-line for me. It's not on there, but it's.
I mean, that's a big part of it's. I mean, because I think there's other factors. I think pass protection is part of O-line. I think that's also. It's a big on penalties. It's big on penalties. I think pass protection too. That goes on the running backs a lot. That I've like a lot of those sacks. You watch a running back not touch a single person, and Quinn's on his back.
That's true.
And when you see that, you just go, yeah. I get maybe the read's not there, and maybe there needs to be something else. But if you're constantly seeing a running back in the backfield with his hands up, and Quinn's on his back, you gotta try and jump over there do something to keep your quarterback upright. And at least buy him a little bit of time to move, see something's happening. So like that kind of thing, I think is a more team. But yeah, I believe the O-line, especially the last couple of weeks, that's what you hear is people getting on the O-line. People right now are saying there's certain O-line players and that guy needs to be taken out of the game. And people are up on DJ Campbell, people are up on Cam Williams, get him out of the game, put somebody else in, get somebody else in there. They're getting too many penalties, which is difficult to do because there's a reason they're starting. They're the best players out there to do it. So it's hard to just replace players. I know that it's Texas and there's guys behind them, but they're not always ready to go. So, you take time. There's a reason to not pull them out of every game. But I agree you have to start working on it. And this is a bye week. This is a big week for that O-line. That's a veteran O-line to try and get their feet back underneath them.
No, I agree with that. I think the position group that has the most work to do in this bye week is the offensive line, because I think all of those things that you list here, they all involve the O-line. The downfield passing game, you can't have that if they're gonna. I believe now you had 11 sacks over the last 2 games, 12 in the last 3. I guess that's not terrible because you only had 1 in the Oklahoma game. I think it was like on the first play. But 11 in the last 2 games, that's a troubling thing. And that's if that's your downfield passing game, you're trying to throw the football deeper downfield to some deeper progression reads. Well, you're going to need a little bit of time. And so that's troubling. And it's troubling that what I found in the last couple of weeks, you go look at, and I was looking at, I went back and looked at all the sacks that Texas has given. I think it's like 17 sacks that they've allowed. Damn near half of those sacks involve a cornerback or a slot cornerback blitz.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, 8 of those 17 involve a cornerback or a slot cornerback blitz. And so this is something, have you been watching film on Texas? Somebody's been I went back and looked at my notes. Somebody's been picking up on it. And they're like, you know what? Because Kirby Smart did it, but he didn't do it a lot. But then Vanderbilt did it a lot. Vanderbilt did it and I was like, because I went back, I was like, man, there's no way Vanderbilt looked at this Georgia game and decided, you know what, we're going to blitz out. Because they blitzed their corner a lot. It was a touchdown pass on one of the corners back blitzes. Remember the DeAndre Moore wheel route, that kind of wheel route ended up being a hot route for him. Beautiful throw by Quinn. They blitzed the corner on that play. And the safety wasn't even ready. He was out of position, out leveraged. And that's why he just ran right down the sideline unopposed, because the safety wasn't even ready to take over, and they blitzed the corners. They were really aggressive in blitzing their corners. I thought there's got to be more to it. So I went back and watched all the sacks Texas had. Cornerback blitzes on basically half of them. Either a slot cornerback blitz or an outside cornerback blitz. People don't blitz cornerbacks a lot, guys. And so it's not a coincidence. They found something, and I don't know if Florida's going to do that, but it worked really well for Vanderbilt. It was the reason for a lot of their sacks and a lot of that tip pass for an interception. It was a gamble, but it paid off for them. So it'll be things like that, like the A-gap blitz. Like it'll be things that they need to work on specifically. Because if it was, remember that cornerback blitz in the Georgia game, Sark said that wasn't Quinn's fault. That was on the O-line. Well, can we find out who was responsible for the cornerback blitzes in the Vanderbilt game then? Whose fault was that? Because they kept coming with them. And he's like, well, that's on the quarterback. I have no idea. But my point is that's something like that's one thing they got to work on. But there are others. But the point is 11 sacks in the last 2 games. Pass protection is important, but also if you want to get the ball downfield, pass protection is going to be key in that element too. And if you're talking about the run game, I mean, the run game, guys, I gave you the stat. And yesterday, I was just looking at the last 3 weeks. Texas run game is 99th in the country in yards per rush in the last 3 weeks. Their rushing yards per game in the last 3 weeks, they're 110th in rushing yards per game in the last 3 weeks. The running game is regressing. And that's somewhat concerning. You know, I never thought the running game was going to be dominant, but yeah, that's that on your list. That also involves, to me, the offensive line.
It does, and I think that also involves penalties. Is we've seen a lot of those runs where they break them, they just get a flag thrown on them. They break a run, and some of them are holds, and some of them are maybe holds, but you get some, and if they get one on the outside, and anybody on the edge falls over, that's a hold. They're calling it, whether it is or not.
Yeah. Agree.
And so they've had that issue of, you know, the holds are not necessarily coming in pass protection as much as they're coming in a lot of those big run plays, which kills your run game because 15-yard pickup, moving 10 yards back. And so now you got to throw the ball. So that takes 15, 20 yards off your total for the runs for the game. And now you got to throw more. You can't run the ball again because now you're moved backwards. So there's been too many of those, and some of those are on DeAndre Moore downfield or Gunnar Helm downfield. They're not on the O-line. They're, you know, that's everybody that's getting these calls downfield of trying to get a block in, and someone gets around a corner and that guy falls over. They've been calling it in the SEC.
They do. They call it differently. It's pretty obvious that Texas has not yet adjusted to the way SEC officials interpret holding. And so they got to figure that out. I think they'll adjust to it. I don't think they're picking on Texas or anything like that. I'm not into the conspiracy theory yet, but I do think all these issues are O-line. You know, the O-line has a big hand in them, and I think the penalties. I mean, Cam Williams has 11 penalties on the season. 11 of them. You know, so everybody else is. You know, Kelvin Banks has 5. So does DJ Campbell. You know, and Jake Majors got 3. So, you know, Cam Williams, his penalties, they're problematic. I mean, I think he is way over I don't know what the average is for an offensive lineman in terms of penalties in a season, but man, your pace, you're on pace for way too many. And I imagine that'd be one of the higher numbers in the country. So for Cam Williams, that's something I think he can work on personally that can really help the team too, whether that be the focus before, you know, on false starts or some of the pre-snap penalties, or that be holding, or just keeping yourself emotionally, you know what I mean, like under control when you're out there. And, you know, you pancake a guy, you don't got to pancake him and then jump on him again, pancake him and then push him back down after, you know, the whistle already blows. Like, unnecessary. So I do like the nasty streak he has. He has a nasty streak. He's a mean SOB, and you want that on the O-line, but you also don't want it to come back to bite you and hurt the team. So I think for Cam Williams, he'll learn that. But for him, I think ultimately, he's the main culprit in terms of the penalties. All right, that's the topic for the Big Fat Poll today. Go vote on it. I'm interested to see what everybody's thoughts are, because I think any of those could end up being right. You can justify any of those being the main emphasis for Texas during their bye week, because they all need a little bit of work there. All right, we come back from the Horn headlines. We'll dive into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. We'll talk about the most unlikely 50-point burger in the history of the NFL. We'll also dive into that Jameis Winston miracle win for the Browns over the Ravens. We can talk about that, and a Hail Mary that we also didn't get to yesterday, with Jaden Daniels pulling a rookie miracle out of his hat, leading the Washington Commanders to another big win. We'll dive into that. And next segment in Raj Rant, we'll hear from the Aggies head coach, because he's proud of his program. I want y'all to know it's a real program. So we'll talk about that. Some people thought he was basically directing those comments at someone. but turns out Coach Elko wanted people to know it was not directed at anybody. That was directed at everybody. All right. It wasn't at anybody. It wasn't just for one person. That was for all y'all. It was a message in general about the Aggies. So we'll talk about that coming up in Rod's Rant. But first, let's hit these Horn headlines. So let's get educated, updated, and informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the NBA, the Rockets got their win back from Saturday with a 106-101 victory over the Spurs last night. Jalen Green once again led the way with 36 points, while Victor Wembanyama had a 20-rebound night for the Spurs. And Kyrie Irving stepped up for the Mavs in a 110-102 win over the Jazz last night with 23 points and 9 assists. The Mavericks are back in action tonight against the Timberwolves. In the World Series, the Dodgers took a commanding 3-0 series lead last night, picking up a 4-2 win with the Yankees' ninth-inning rally falling short. New York will look to Aaron Judge to finally get going as he has gone 1 for 12 with 7 strikeouts in the series. Luis Gil is the scheduled starter for the Yankees tonight with everyone available in the bullpen trying to avoid the sweep. And the NFL, the Steelers improved to 6-2 on the season after a 26-18 win over the Giants on Monday Night Football. Calvin Austin returned to punt for a touchdown and caught a pass for a touchdown in the game to help the Steelers get the win. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right. Thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. Appreciate those. All right. Let's hit some of the headlines from around the NFL that we didn't get a chance to get to. I saw some of the stats, so I had to try to go back and watch some of the game. The Detroit 52-14 win over Tennessee. It might be the most unlikely 50-point game that any team's ever had in the history of the NFL. And I'm not just making it up. There are actually a couple of stats that reflect that. One of those stats is, how about this one? If you look at their 50-point burger, this is the last time that a starting quarterback had basically a team that he was quarterbacking for scored 50-plus points, throwing for 85 yards or fewer, because that's basically what happened. Jared Goff threw for, he was 12 of 15 for just 85 yards, and they scored 52 points. Last time it happened, 1954. Detroit beat the Chicago Bears 48-23. Bobby Lane, shout out to Bobby Lane, completed 4 of 16 for 84 yards. And ironically, that's crazy. That's the last time any team ever did it. The irony being it was the Detroit Lions over the Chicago Bears. And it was replaced by Tom Dublinsky in the first half because Lane had a viral infection and a temperature of 102 degrees. There you go. That's how unlikely it is. They ended up having a ton of kick return yards that gave them favorable field position. They generated, I think, 262 return yards on 6 total returns. Khalil Dorsey had a 72-yard kickoff return. Khalif Raymond had a 64-yard kickoff return. In the third quarter, Raymond also had a 90-yard punt return for a touchdown. And they ended up with like 260-some yards. So they got a lot of easy field position. And that led to a lot of easy scores. And their running game was clicking for the Titans. Actually, how about this? The Titans were outgained. I'm sorry, the Detroit Lions were outgained by the Titans. They outgained them 417 to 225.
Yeah, they picked up 6 more first downs than them.
Like, how does that happen? How do you score 50-something points and get outgained by what? Man, they were outgained by like almost 180-some yards.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
unbelievable. It's easily the most unlikely fit. Now, Mason Rudolph, I think, was quarterback in the Titans, so there wasn't much opposition, but still, that is crazy. Like, a quarterback throwing for, and by the way, Jared Goff was like the hottest quarterback in the league at the time. Him throwing for 85 yards. He did have 3 touchdowns, but him throwing for 85 yards and them being outgained 417 to 225 and still scoring 50-something points. Man, the Lions are scary. Lions are scary. Ain't no other way of getting around it. That is some prolific explosivity as a team. Like I said, I know Detroit, they were, and they lost Aiden Hutchinson, so they lost arguably their best player on defense too. And you would think that would affect them a little bit more. It did not seem to affect them. Titans are bad, But yeah, scoring 50 points like that shows you all three phases. The lines are clicking. They really are. That was amazing. All right, other big story. Can we get the Jaden Daniels Hail Mary ready to go here? Because this was amazing for those who missed out on. And now there's some coaching. I think there's some coaching points that you can make on here in terms of the Chicago Bears, because it was 1 versus 2. Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels, who's easily going to win Rookie of the Year. And a lot of people were thinking he wouldn't play. He had a rib injury he was dealing with. He still played, and he was phenomenal. They ended up winning that game 18-15. It's kind of a slugfest. It came down to a Hail Mary throw from Jaden Daniels. We'll come back and talk about it, but here's the call, Jim Nantz, from this Hail Mary attempt. It was 15-12 at the time for Washington with it was like 2 seconds remaining on the clock. Here it is.
Comes down to one last play, and it's going to be getting longer by the second. You're all the way back at the 30-yard line. Now you can step into it. Here comes the Hail Mary with the game on the line, and the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle! It's Noah Brown! Oh my goodness! This town is going crazy! It's a madhouse in Landover, Maryland! He did it!
All right, now the dang coaching mistake was that they only rushed 3 guys, and then they kept a spy back. And it is Jaden Daniels, but still, I mean, I don't know if you necessarily need a spy. If he crossed the line of scrimmage, then everybody can just converge on him, and he'd have to run all the way. I think they were close. They were close to midfield, so he'd have to, run all the way to the end zone. And I think by then I would trust my defenders to be able to make the play. So he had 3 guys rushing. They had 1 spy. And they did not play what they call a plaster technique. Plaster is when you tell, you say you're dropping back 7, and they got 5 guys going out on routes. I got to go see if they kept anybody in for pass protection. You have 1 defender that is plastered to that 1 receiver, and then you allow either 2 or 3 of your extra defenders who are not necessarily plastered to a man. They get to roam. And then when the ball is thrown, then, of course, everybody converges on the ball. And it didn't seem like they were doing that either. It seemed like that basically Matt Eberflus had them almost playing a zone it up, and then everybody would converge to it. The reason you want to plaster is because you want to essentially box guys out for the football. And you would like – to buy, and then if say, depending on where the trajectory of the ball and where it lands, you at least have someone who is designated. No, I'm designated to break the ball up with this guy. Nobody will ever get lost. No man will ever be like, oh man, he just drifted back there and he was by himself, which basically what happened. The Washington receivers kind of drifted back and was alone without anyone plastered to him. There should have been at least if he catches it, it should be a contested catch with a man right by him. And that was not necessarily the case. The ball got tipped, and then he was back there by himself. And that should never happen. If the ball is going to get tipped, they're trying to tip it. If he gets tipped, there should be somebody with the guy who is playing the tip drill, somebody there to try to knock it away. And there was nobody with him. They kind of got lost. And there is some assignment football with Hail Marys. At least there should be. And maybe with them, they didn't have the plaster technique, but I would say he did scramble around for 12 seconds. That's why you want to get to him. You can make the argument you probably shouldn't have the spy. The spy should have been just another rusher to try to just get to him, because you want to either flush him from the pocket or you want to force him to have to throw it. Now he is an amazing scrambler too. I think he had 50-something yards rushing in the game on 8 rushes, and he threw for 326 yards and a touchdown. So he's still far and away going to be your Rookie of the Year. But man, 12 seconds is way too long for a quarterback to hold on to the ball.
I mean, because you can say, all right, you're a spy, and then like flag football, count 3 Mississippi, and go.
Yep.
And just go after him, because at that point we're good that he can't really run at that point. They didn't set up something where like we know it's a Hail Mary at that point. We know everything's downfield. There's no trick play where someone's coming back behind, it's a lateral and you're throwing across the field. That's not happening.
Nope.
So at that point, you can go rush after him now.
Yeah. It was that was a bad coaching decision. Yeah, and he just kind of ended up. I'm still trying to figure out how he ended up by himself once this ball is. Yeah, because once he gets tipped, nobody's with him. And you could tell I don't know if he was just trying to knock it down the defender, because there was somebody initially, I think, on him, but then once it's tipped, it was tipped right to him. Now that is tipped to Noah Brown. A lot of that is luck, but there should have been a player on him. Should have been somebody near him to try to knock it down. And how about this? This is a funny thing. The player who ended up tipping the football, he actually apparently was, and he was inciting the crowd prior to that. He was talking trash to the crowd.
Yeah, way out of position.
Tyreek Stevenson was his name. They have video of him prior to the Hail Mary talking trash to the crowd.
Oh, no, but it's not, when you say prior, he's what, 10 yards from the sideline, something like that, like 10 feet from the sideline, talking to the crowd when the ball snapped. And then he runs back into the play and tips the ball up, and it's caught. It was one of those very teachable moments.
Oh man, humbling. Yeah, he was. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the video he's about to be snapped. He's still like gesturing to the crowd, talking trash.
Yeah,
and man, that's karma. Karma is you know what. That's tough. That really is, because they were in a position they should have been able to knock that football down. They got their hands on. There should have been somebody next to Noah Brown to box him out or to body him a little bit. It shouldn't have been just a tip and a catch. It shouldn't have been just a tip drill. That's how we were taught to defend it. The Texans had to defend a Hail Mary.
I remember several years back now, but there was one, Jacksonville beat him on a Hail Mary that was the same thing. A tip ball up, guy wide open in the end zone behind the play. And you can't let somebody stand anybody by themselves, because once you have that, the part of the Hail Mary is a guy's supposed to run behind it.
Yep. And
so somebody
exactly.
You just go, what are the odds that if we all stick our hands up, it bounces off of one of those hands?
And all we need is a guy who's free to go get. You're right. That's so the defense. I don't know how they didn't. I'm sure that was the plan. And it was
someone just went for the ball.
That just went for the ball, and that's the glory. You're going for the glory. Don't go for the glory. You got a man. You stay with your man. If your man takes you there, then you go. Your man will take you. If your man's taking you there, all right, my man took me there, so we're going. But if your man doesn't take you there, you need to stay with your man.
Now the question is, was that supposed to be Stevens, who is on the side?
I don't know. Yeah,
that's why he was off his guy. Know. Or is there another Bears player that screwed up, and he is so happy that Stevens did that?
Yeah, that's a great point. Because that's how I was taught how to defend. We usually defended Hail Marys. We only defend, I think, like maybe one or two in my entire career. But
I mean, if Stevens is doing that too, it would tell you that maybe the play was not as communicated properly to the back of the guys, where everybody knows. Like, there can't be communication where everyone's like, "That's my guy. That's my guy." That's
That's true. They might have been playing more of just a zone it up, and then we converge.
Yeah, because it feels like you should have some communication in the back there where you're all talking to each other. Just go, hey, man, make sure. But, yeah, that's one of those – that's a young team with a coach that isn't necessarily thought of as a great coach in Albert Flus, and they're going to have mistakes like that. And and that cost you a game.
It did cost them a game, because 12 seconds, that's way too long. As a matter of fact, that 12.79 seconds on that Hail Mary for Jaden Daniels, it was the first touchdown pass with a time to throw over 10 seconds since 2016.
Yeah, because why are you still just standing there?
Right? It's way too much time, man. He should have had that much time to give his guys, the ability to get in position that way. It should have been rushed, a little bit more rushed.
Yeah.
And that's what most Hail Marys are. Guys are still trying to run down there a little bit and get in position as the ball's being thrown. That time, everybody was just down there waiting, like, all right, here we go. That's it.
Yeah, and if you're that linebacker and you're like, well, he got away. You're like, he also probably got away from like 7 other guys by the point he gets down there. So it's not gonna just be on you that you didn't spy properly.
Yep. Yeah. No, you're right about that. I think there were 2 initial breakdowns for the Bears on that play. All right, another in the NFL headline I want to get to. You brought this one up earlier, Patrick, and it's also a very unlikely headline than I expect to see when the Browns trotted out their 39th different starting quarterback since 1999, which ended up being Jameis Winston. He eviscerated the Baltimore Ravens. He really did. And how about this? You go look at it. Yeah, he had 27 of 41, 334 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he was clutch. Now he did have some plays where it looked like Jameis Winston, right? The same guy who threw the first quarterback in NFL history to throw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. Wasn't that? Did I get that stat right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, he did. That's why I started calling him. Man, he's like an idiot savant. Like he can play he can look like the best quarterback in the league on one play, and then the very next play he can look like a quarterback that shouldn't be a backup in the league. It has that ability. Like, that's crazy, but it wasn't on display then. It was just more of the good Jameis Winston when throwing for, he had 115.3 passer rating against the Ravens. And basically answered Lamar Jackson. Every time Lamar Jackson in the Ravens offense made a play, he would answer it. And I know that they're 2-6 now, but I mean, that Browns team looks, like a team that can win a few more games. They look much more inspired than when Deshaun Watson was their starting quarterback. And that's without Amari Cooper. And with some guys, some guys got to be checking out of that, just the season, already thinking about the offseason since they're only a 2-win team. And yet Jameis Winston able to pull out a win. Ravens got some issues defensively. The Ravens defense has allowed 40 plays of 20-plus yards this season. That's the most in the NFL. They also have 41 plays on offense of 20-plus yards this season. That is also the most in the NFL. So the Ravens got to figure some things out. They give up a lot of explosive plays on defense. But there you go. That's some NFL headlines. A lot of unlikely outcomes in the NFL this past weekend. There are a few of those. We come back, we'll get into the Aggies a little bit. Mike Elko wants you to know that his program is for real, or that his program is a real program. I don't know which one. We'll let you hear from him. He'll tell you. And he wants to explain afterwards, because it became a hot topic. Who was he referring to in his initial, it wasn't a rant, but in his statement, who was he referring to? A lot of people thought, oh man, he may be taking a shot at this person or that person. And then we have the sound of Mike Elko also clarifying that he wasn't just talking to anybody. He was talking to everybody. And we'll discuss that when we come back right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friend and my dentist, Dr. Greg Eckert. He's a great dentist, folks. Best dentist in Austin. And I learned it, I guess I learned it the hard way, because I went in there initially for a checkup, just a routine cleaning. And while they were doing the checkup, they were very thorough in their work. They found that my wisdom teeth were growing in sideways. It was already impacting my molars. I was in a disastrous situation potentially, but they acted quickly. They wanted to make sure that there was no more damage that was done. They got the appointment scheduled, got the procedure scheduled, and actually made sure I was comfortable and educated and informed about everything that was happening. Got everything done. I was back at work, as you know, within a couple of days. And my dental health and dental hygiene have never been better, thanks to Dr. Eckert and his team. And they can do the same for you. And hopefully it's not as serious as having all of your wisdom teeth extracted. Hopefully for you, it's something routine. But even if it is something very serious, folks, you want to be in good hands. And Dr. Eckert and his team, they are great hands, the best hands, folks. Trust me, give them a call no matter what the issue is, whether it's general dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers. dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Eckert and his team are all about. And right now, they have the ability to give you a brand new smile in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants. You'll spend no time without teeth. You'll get your temporary fixtures first until they complete your permanent smile. And you're going to smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. So we're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, just call Dr. Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. A brand new smile in just one day. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not. That's just Dr. U. A complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose, but so much to gain, because a confident smile can truly change your life. And Dr. Eckert wants to change your life for the better. He did it for me. He can do it for you as well. Give him a call, 512-345-3166, 512-345-3166, or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. And remember, you got the end of the year coming up, so you want to use those benefits before you lose those benefits, and you want to make sure that you do what's best for you and your family, and Dr. Eckert can help you do that. And also, if you hit them up right now and let them know you heard it right here on the horn, you'll get a free Zoom whitening with any procedure or treatment you're getting from our friends at Dr. Eckert's office. dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to some college football discussion. We talked about this in the offseason. Brought it up several times. It said the Longhorn fans don't want to discuss it, but I said you do have to entertain the possibility that the Aggies could be good when the Longhorns play them. And most Longhorn fans mocked and kind of laughed at that suggestion. Like, oh, they're gonna be good. I was like, no, there's a chance, the way the schedule lays out, that if everything works out for the Aggies, that they could end up being pretty good when the Longhorns play them. And we talked about it during the offseason. I said, listen, if they get to a certain point in the season and they've only had one loss, because I think that Notre Dame game is what we all thought. Say, hey man, that could be that one loss early on. But if they get past a certain point, the Aggie schedule becomes really favorable once they get past that initial tough stretch at the beginning. And they're past that point, and now the Aggies and Longhorns both have the same record, 7-1. And I told you guys the hype train was going to get started if they got past that certain point, and the hype train is full steam ahead, baby. And we also discussed the possibility of, that rekindling that rivalry of that game this year. I said, listen, it's bigger than Texas OU. I said that before the season started, and like it's definitely going to be bigger than Texas OU. Now, I don't know if the Aggies going to Aggie this thing up, but right now they're 7-1, and they are the undefeated in SEC play after their big win over LSU. They control their fate in the SEC. And if the Aggies and the Longhorns, until they play, win out, guys, that is going to end up being right now. Can end up being it's a top 10 matchup right now. It can end up being a top 5 matchup. Yeah. Like that's how it, and that would be the biggest Texas A&M game in history. It would be. I mean, there's no question about it. Is you'd have the SEC title game, or at least implications, because whoever wins or loses, depending on how the rest of the season shakes out for the rest of the league, that would basically be a game with the SEC title hopes on the line. And there's a chance, I've looked at all the tiebreakers, don't know how that works, that you could have them in back-to-back games. That I don't even know how that would. I mean, it depends
on how the rest of the season goes too.
Yeah, how the rest of the season
gets another loss.
Tiebreakers. Yes, exactly. I don't know, but that's also up there. That's also in the air. It's a possibility, but it's something that we discussed. That hey, man, the Aggies, if they can, get past that first stretch, and it looks like now they're going to be. Until the Texas game, they'll be favored in every game. And I don't even know they might help. I don't know what the line is going to be for that game. I remember Texas was favored in that game. I don't know where it is now. I've not looked at it. I'm talking about preseason. This is basically what we were talking about before the season started. So after their big win over LSU, and that was a really impressive win because they replaced Connor Wigman, put in Marcel Reed, and LSU just could not figure out how to stop the zone read. I mean, they were lost. And he's great at running it too, because he waits to the last second to abandon the zone read part of it. He waits to the last second and then takes the ball away. And if you're a defensive end, it's almost impossible. It's just really tough for you to be able to crash to basically make your decision on whether you're gonna crash down on that run game or whether you're gonna set the edge and play the quarterback. He puts you in an impossible situation. And a lot of conflict there with that zone read. Texas, I'm sure we'll see it too. I don't know if they're going back to Connor Wigman, folks. I think this is it for Marcel Reed after that big win. Well, here is Mike Elko, the head coach for the Aggies, feeling good about his program as well. He should, and he is, he's basically stating that there was a lot of negative. There was a lot of negativity, and the narrative surrounding the Aggies was about NIL, and it was about a lot of superficial, shallow things that did not add substance to the program. And he's basically, I think, stating here that they're done with all that. That if y'all think the Aggies are this program that's only about NIL and only about salacious headlines and things of that nature, like, no, this is a program that's ready to compete at a high level. Here's Mike Elko.
From where we were when I got here, and the whole rhetoric about this program was, NIL and mercenaries and selfishness and all of those things, to see where we are now, right? Where the BJ May story and having to switch positions and learn a new position. And here you are in the biggest game of the year, and he gets 2 incredible picks in the second half that lead us to victory, right? And you don't see those things. And so that's a credit to those kids in the locker room. It's a credit to their character. It's a credit to who they are, and especially to BJ. I mean, what an unbelievable story for him to go out there and do what he did tonight.
Yeah. And here is the other part of that Mike Elko post-game discussion or post-game rant, where he talks about how real the Aggie program is.
We're very honest. We're very open. And this is a real program. It's not fake. It's not a politician running this program, talking fast and BSing everybody. This is a real program. And for all the recruits out there, this is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
Okay. So after he said that, there are a lot of assumptions by folks out there speculating, hey, who's he talking about? Run by politicians and talking fast. Who's he talking about? He's talking about Jimbo Fisher. Oh, is he talking about Jimbo Fisher? Oh, man, who's he talking about? Oh, he's talking about Sark? Who's he talking about, man? What's going on? He's talking about CDC? Who's he talking about? So the speculation, I think, kind of got back to him. Hey, man, you might need to clarify because right now people think you're talking about Jimbo or you're talking about somebody from Texas or they don't know. So here is Mike Elko, I believe yesterday, after those comments went viral, clarifying that he's not just talking about anybody in particular.
Just the last thing, and it's just comical that I actually have to do this, but it's necessary. In the post game, I was asked to kind of give a synopsis on how we sell culture to our program. In doing so, I made a statement that seemed like a very benign statement that somehow managed to be taken as a shot directly at people. You guys gave me multiple opportunities in 9 months to take shots at people, and I've never done it. I have nothing but respect for Coach Fisher. I've said nothing but positive things about Coach Fisher. I'm the head coach at Texas A&M because of Coach Fisher. I appreciate who he is, everything that he's done. And for anybody in the media to think that that was what I was doing post LSU is it's asinine. And for it to be about any other head coach who gave me an opportunity and hired me, and that's not who I am. I've never been that person. And it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knows I wasn't talking to anybody directly. So from there, I'll open it up to questions.
Down front, Brent, and then Nolan.
I just figured you were talking about Sam Pittman.
All right. Yeah. See, nobody does. He's somebody talking about this coach or that coach. We talking about Brian Kelly. Well, he's talking about Brian Kelly because Brian Kelly's kind of he's kind of slick. He's not necessarily from the LSU culture there. And maybe he was talking about him. Nobody really knew. And he wants you to know, like, hey man, I was talking to everybody. But I will say Aggies look like they're for real. I think we're past the hype train phase of the Aggies schedule, being 7-1. And honestly, I bet they're ashamed of that Notre Dame loss, but it just shows you teams get better week to week. And who the Aggies are now is not who the Aggies are going to be when the Longhorns play them. Who the Longhorns now, hopefully, are not the Longhorn team that, are going to be playing the Aggies either. Hopefully, they'll be better by then as well. But it's reality. The Aggies, they're legit. They're going to be out. There's no doubt that's the toughest. That game's going to be tough. Like it was already going to be a hard game, no matter if the Aggies were good or not, just because of the emotional charge of that game and the magnitude of it and then rekindling the rivalry. And it was going to be almost a religious experience for Aggie fans now. But now their team is good. And they know their team is good. So that's a whole nother variable you got to throw in there. Listen, there's only been 1 year in the history of this rivalry, ladies and gentlemen, where both of these teams have had double-digit win seasons in the same season only once. 100+ years. It doesn't happen very often. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
This has the potential to be the biggest Texas A&M game in the history of the 100 and I don't know how many years is it, 118, whatever it is. I don't know. I haven't kept up with it.
I'm curious to see the quarterback position in the offense going forward because they had Wegman and then he did poorly. Then he got hurt and they put in Reed and Reed did well, but then he started. Then people figured him out. So went back to Wegman and then he did well. And then he started to do poorly. So they went back to Reed and he did well. Is it going to keep being that cycle or is Reed the guy now? And if Reed's a guy, are they going to be able to? Because he didn't throw the ball. He threw, 3 passes in that game? So are they going to be able to just keep putting an offense out there if teams start to game plan for it? Now, the good news is for them that they don't have that many more games left and not that many against really good opponents. I mean, they have South Carolina this week, New Mexico State, Auburn, and Texas. So they don't have a lot. They're only 2.5-point favorites in South Carolina, which is, I don't think people believe very much in this offense still. The defense is legit. We know the defense can play. But yeah, I'm not 100% sold on the offense yet, but I think that they figured out ways to get it done so far this season. And that's kind of what you need to do while you're trying to put together an offense.
Yeah. The scary thing is that this quarterback is more compatible with Colin Klein's system. The Connor Wigman thing, we all were like, oh, he likes a running quarterback. I think a quarterback that can move. So it's possible now the offense ignites a little bit more. That you actually do get the offense now, turning into from a caterpillar into a butterfly, if you will. All right, there you go. Some Aggie discussion. Hey, it's real. The Aggies and the Longhorns, they're gonna when they meet. Either way, the way it's looking right now, that's gonna be a matchup potentially of top 10 teams and maybe even higher seeded teams. That's gonna be a big one. All right, we come back. We'll get into what the facts, what the stats, right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for what the facts, what the stats here on the show. Got a couple of factoids and stats that I want to share with you. We talked about that 50 burger that the Detroit Lions put on the Tennessee Titans and how it was the most unlikely 50 burger in NFL history. Here's another one for you. So it was the 73rd time a team scored 50 points since the turn of the century. And it was the lowest amount or the fewest explosive plays for any team that has scored of those 73 to score 50 plus points in a game. They only had 2 explosive plays on offense. Like, I'll tell you, that 50 point, it was amazing. Like, I don't even know how you could do that. It was just mostly just return yardage 260 something return yards. And so they only had 2 explosive plays. The record basically was 3 explosive plays for a team that scored 50 plus points, and they were at 2. They also had the lowest yards per drop back of any team that scored 50 points this century. They were at 3 yards per drop back. Well, actually fewer than 3 yards per drop back, a little under 3 yards per drop back. The previous low was 5.3. So the lowest yards per drop back for a team to score 50 points, all right, this century, and the fewest amount of explosive plays for a team that scored 50 points. And the quarterback only had 85 yards passing. Actually, that's 52 net yards, but 85 yards passing for the quarterback. I'm telling you, man, it was the wildest story, I think, of the NFL weekend. I know there was a Hail Mary and all, and I know Jameis Winston went off, which is also pretty crazy, but I hadn't seen anything as wild as Detroit scoring 50 and the way they scored 50. It's just, it's so unlikely. Like, they're just like, that is it's easily the most unlikely 50-point game in NFL history. That's basically what we witnessed if you watched the game over the weekend.
No, the stats all lead you to believe, other than turnovers, all the stats would all lead you to believe that the Titans won.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. And and by the way, I gave you this earlier, but the last time any other team basically threw for a quarterback for a team that scored 50 points and threw for 85 yards or fewer. How about this one? Ironically, the Lions did it in 1954. And on the 26th of September, Detroit beat Chicago, and they weren't. He didn't score 50. I take it back. He only scored 48. But he was the only one that was close to scoring 50, I should say, was Bobby Lane. In that game, it was 48-23, and he had 84 yards, and he had to leave the game with a viral infection. But then he basically, in the second half, somebody finished the game. If they didn't have that, they would have probably scored 50 if Bobby Lane wouldn't have left the game. But that was so. It is the fewest amount of passing yards, basically, that they could find for a quarterback who started a game for a team that scored 50 points. Like I said, I still don't know how the hell they did that. All right, another what the facts with the stats. I know we're getting close to the end here. I got one more for you. How about this one? Derrick Henry is on pace even after this past Sunday, and I don't think he even got to 100 yards actually in that game versus Cleveland, but he did have, I think, averaged over 6 yards per carry. Derrick Henry is on pace to be the 4th player in NFL history, in Super Bowl history, in the Super Bowl era, to lead the NFL in carries, rush yards, yards per carry, and rushing touchdowns in the same season. The other 3, this is a nice list. Earl Campbell, you damn right. He did it in 1980, the year I was born. Walter Payton, all right. Sweetness, he did it. And then O.J. Simpson did it in 1975. So that's the last time. Think about those were years when that's basically an age when the running back is what the quarterback is today. Like, that's what your running back was considered. And Derrick Henry is about to do that in 2024.
Jeez.
People don't do that anymore, guys. O.J. Simpson, Walter Payton, Earl Campbell. That's the realm, or at least the rarefied air that Derrick Henry is about to be in.
And he's doing it, years into his career.
Also true. Yeah. Good point. Because Earl Campbell, what was that? That's rookie year?
I mean, around then, yeah.
It's got to be.
It's got to be, yeah.
To it, right? It's got to be something like that. I mean, I'll go check that out. And then for Walter Payton, I wonder when it is. You're right. That's a good point. That's probably early in their careers. I'll go look that up. Good point there, Patrick. All right. Since we're talking about the Ravens real quick, I got another one for you. Lamar Jackson is on pace to be the first player to lead the NFL in passer rating and lead QBs in rushing yards since Steve Young in 1994. And that was the year that Steve Young did what? Won the MVP and won the Super Bowl. Got the monkey off his back. Remember the famous video, or at least the image of the guy taking the monkey off his back? Lamar Jackson, could this be the year for him? You can't be losing to the Cleveland Browns if you're going to be the team that's going to, upend and usurp the Kansas City Chiefs. Got to figure that out. All right, we come back. We'll get into some Longhorn football discussion. We'll hear from Steve Sarkisian when we go behind the burnt orange curtain. We'll talk about the game last night. Do the Steelers have a quarterback? And the Steelers found themselves right now in the lead in one of the toughest divisions in football. We'll talk about if that is something that the Pittsburgh Steelers can continue throughout the rest of the season. We'll dive in some other NFL news, notes, and nuggets. The Kansas City Chiefs, the rich get richer. They just made a trade for one of the better young pass rushers in the NFL. How the hell did they do it? We'll talk about that and more right here on the broadcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when my man Patrick, who's the Idealionaire, comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. That's when he plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. So we appreciate all of his creativity and effort for the musically themed days of the week. He also comes up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is already posted at the Horns X account at the Horn ATX on X. Patrick, let the folks know what the topic is for the big fat poll of the day.
Big fat poll of the day today. What does Texas need to work on the most during the bye week? We gave you penalties, pass protection, downfield passing, and the run game. Right now, penalties has the lead with 53% of the vote, 33% for pass protection, 9% for the run game, and 5% for downfield passing.
Yeah, the penalties are especially frustrating. Even Sark admitted that they're not only killing drives, but they're taking away explosive runs. And Texas doesn't have a lot of explosive runs, and they're taking away some of their explosive runs on some plays too. So, yeah, I mean, all of those things need some work, of course, but penalties seem to be the one that is one of the most glaring in the last 2 weeks. It's the one that's most uncharacteristic of a Sark team. Right, the pass protection. Texas had pass protection issue before. They had them last year. Remember, they couldn't figure out simulated pressures for a while. Then they finally figured out how to block simulated pressures. Now they're struggling with like the cornerback blitz for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Half the sacks, basically damn near half the sacks they've allowed this year, there's been a slot cornerback blitz, a cornerback blitz as a concept within that pressure package. People don't run a lot of cornerback blitzes. That's strange. Like that's not a concept teams run a lot of. It's a big risk. You're highly exposed when you blitz a cornerback. Highly exposed. And yet that's half your sacks. Something's up with that. So I think there's this certain pass protection. I've seen Texas struggle with pass protection before. Downfield passing, I just broke down, and we'll hear from Sark talking about it. Quinn I don't know why people want Quinn to be some kind of deep ball savant all of a sudden. He's never been that guy. He's never been a deep ball passer. The only thing that's different now is y'all know Arch is a deep ball savant who loves the deep ball. Chicks dig the long ball, and so does Arch. I'm going to make that t-shirt, all right, because Arch going to be just chunking deep balls. Y'all seen Arch deep ball, and now y'all like, I like his deep ball. His deep ball is nice. Quinn's deep ball is like, it's all right. Y'all been watching Quinn throw deep balls to Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, miss them, overthrows the fastest humans in college football, and y'all have grown frustrated with that. I get it. And then this year, he hasn't thrown that many deep balls, but at least he's actually more efficient throwing the deep ball than he has been in recent years. But Longhorn fans don't care about how teams are playing Texas, how they're playing with two deep safeties, how they're dropping a lot of their safeties deep and giving you the numbers advantage underneath. They don't care about that either. All they care about is, hey man, Arch has got a deep ball. And the crazy thing about it, when Arch actually threw his first start, right? And he threw 10 deep balls, I think, in that game. And I told you guys he was gonna throw deep ball. That was my Black Strummer's prediction. I was like, oh no, he's gonna throw deep ball. I've watched enough film on Arch high school and the small sample size here in Texas. He'll launch it. He likes to launch it. He wants to launch it. You can tell him in practice he's been launching it, and I think Sark likes that too. But the only thing that's changed is that y'all saw Arch, and now that's what's wrong with the downfield passing game. Is that Quinn is reluctant to throw the football downfield and won't. And I'm not saying that's not an issue, but it's been an issue. It ain't just come up this year, guys. It was an issue when Xavier Worthy was here too. So that's not new. And the run game issue is new. The run game deficiency is new. Texas, I will admit that Sark has had 1,000-yard rusher for every year for the last 12 years or something like that. He's a play caller and a coordinator and head coach. I think that is new in my opinion, because the run game, you're not going to have 1,000-yard rusher. And I don't know if you have a workhorse running back. Jaden Blue, let's be honest, guys. Jaden Blue, he's used more as a receiver than he is as a running back.
Mm-hmm.
So your only true real running back is Trey Wisner. And they don't say they don't like him, but they don't trust Jerry Gibson yet. Obviously in pass protection. And they struggle in pass protection. Even the starting running backs struggle in pass protection.
Yeah.
And so because of all those issues, and your offensive line is not necessarily imposing their will, the run game is new. The run game and the penalties, those are uncharacteristic of an offense. Usually Sark has a better run game, and Sark's teams are more disciplined than that. So those would be the two I think I'd work on the most in the bye week is those. The pass protection, that is an all-encompassing issue. That's on Quinn. That's on O-line. That's on receivers downfield. That's on the tight ends, running backs. That's everybody. Pass protection is all inclusive in terms of the problem solving method. It's going to take everybody down the field passing. Like I said, I think you can get better at that, but some of that is taking what the defense is giving you. The run game, though, they're giving you light boxes and you still can't run on teams. Think about it. Sarkis keeps talking about them with deep high safeties, right? What does that mean? In football theory, what have we talked about? What does it mean they're going to have 2 deep high safeties? Football is at its most rudimentary point is a numbers game. If they got 2 deep safety, they cannot load the box on you. We've talked about how Sark is playing more 12 personnel, one back, 2 tight ends with Juan Davis. Now they're adding Amari Black to the mix. So you're talking about having the numbers advantage a lot of the time in the box to be able to run the football. Right? Because they're not stacking the box. If you're in 11 personnel, they probably got 3 DBs lined up against your 3 wide receivers. They got 2 deep safeties. That means they got 5 guys in coverage. What's the numbers? That means they got 6 guys in the box. You got 5 offensive linemen. You got a tight end that's 6 on 6 right there. Plus your running back, that's 7. If you add another tight end to the mix and take it away from the receivers, yeah, but you should be able to have the numbers advantage. Is what I'm saying. Whether you go 11 or whether you're going 12, you got the mass and you got the numbers advantage and you got the mass advantage. Why can't you run the football then? You cannot win the football, but based on the numbers, you cannot win the numbers advantage everywhere. If you win the numbers advantage in the passing game because they're dropping back 2 deep safeties, then it means you have the advantage in the numbers game in the box. Box is light. Why can't Texas run the ball against the light box? You got the biggest humans, right? Big humans. You should be able to run the football when you're facing a light box. In the last 3 weeks, Texas yards per rush, 99th in the country in yards per rush. Rushing yards per game, 110th in rushing yards per game in the last 3 weeks. Run game is regressing, and so it's not adding up to me. I accept what you say about the safeties dropping back. I watch film. I get it. Then why can't we win in the box when the numbers are light? They don't have a 12th man. You have to face that at the end of the season. They ain't got one. So, to me, the run game is your big issue. The passing game is being taken away by factors and variables outside of your control. That's fine. The run game, then, you have more control in the run game if they're giving you lighter boxes, and yet you still are not able to impose your will in the run game. That, to me, would be the big one. So those are the 2 I'm choosing. Penalties and run game. I know I'm cheating because I'm choosing 2, but still. Those are the 2 big emphasis. The big points of emphasis, I should say, for Texas. All right, there you go. Topic for the Big Fat Poll today. Go check it out. We'll get into some Monday Night Football review. We'll talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers now. And Mike Tomlin told y'all Tomlin is a hell of a coach, man. He just needs a quarterback. And now that he's got somebody who can at least play the position in a competent way, Steelers find themselves at the top of one of the toughest divisions in football. We'll discuss that. We'll also get into some other Longhorn topics when we go behind the burnt orange curtain. But first, let's get updated, educated, and informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn Headlines.
All right, your Horn Headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the NBA, the Rockets got their win back from Saturday with a 106-101 win over the Spurs last night. Jalen Green once again led the way with 36 points, while Victor Wembanyama had a 20-rebound night for the Spurs. And Kyrie Irving stepped up for the Mavs in a 110-102 win over the Jazz with a 23 points and 9 assists. Mavericks are back in action tonight against the Timberwolves. In the World Series, the Dodgers took a commanding 3-0 series lead last night, picking up a 4-2 win with the Yankees' ninth-inning rally falling short. New York will look to Aaron Judge to finally get going as he has gone 1 for 12 with 7 strikeouts in the series. Luis Gil is the scheduled starter for the Yankees tonight, with everyone available in the bullpen trying to avoid the sweep. And in the NFL, the Steelers improved to 6-2 on the season after a 26-18 win over the Giants on Monday Night Football. Calvin Austin returned a punt for a touchdown and caught a pass for a touchdown in the game to help the Steelers get the win. And that is your Horn Headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn Headlines. Appreciate those. So one of the headlines, of course, that the Steelers get the win over the Giants. And it looks like right now, whatever recipe that Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson, and honestly Mike Tomlin too, because this was working with Justin Fields a little bit, but this Steelers offense has taken on a whole new era of explosivity with Russell Wilson at the helm. How about this? They put up 63 points in the last 2 weeks. The last time they put up 63 points in back-to-back weeks, you got to go back to 2020, weeks 10 and 11. The last time they put up that many points in back-to-back weeks. In the last 2 weeks, Russell Wilson's statistical ranking in passing yards per game, he's 6th. Passing yards per attempt, he's 6th. Touchdown scored, he's 6th. And his passer rating right now, he'll be 7th just in the last 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks, Steelers offense, total yards, they're 4th. Yards per pass attempt, they're 4th. Yards per rush, they are 4th, and at 10 plus yard plays, they are tied for 1st. Crazy. EPA per drive, they're 7th, and EPA per snap, they're 6th. It's a different offense. It really is right now. And you'll give Mike Tomlin credit. He made the right decision. There were some people that were a little critical because, Justin Fields was actually winning games. He was 4-2. And Mike Tomlin decided, nope, we need a higher ceiling quarterback to operate this offense. And he was right about that. And now for back-to-back weeks, you've had over 400 total yards, 400 plus total yards on offense. In Justin Fields' 6 starts, you had just one game with 400 plus total yards on offense. It's working. It is. Now, Steelers are scary with an offense. They haven't had an offense in a few years, guys. It's been a couple of years since the Steelers have actually had really since Big Ben. The last time they really had a competent offense was, Big Ben, who would flash late in his career, but obviously not been in his prime, but he can still operate the offense in a competent, capable way. You can say, Kenny Pickett he flashed a few times, he did, but they had very inconsistent quarterback play. And even, earlier this year, teaching Justin Fields how to manage a game. But one thing we know about Mike Tomlin can win games, win ugly games, and win close games. In one-score games, he had the best record last season in one-score games. He has the best record in one-score games since 2020. Nobody's better at winning ugly one-score games. But now that you have an offense, this is what the Steelers were when they, I'm not saying Russell Wilson's going to be like Big Ben in his prime, but if they can, this offense can operate, at a high level more consistently with Russell Wilson, and now him throwing the Pickens on the outside and him still got one of the best deep balls in the NFL. The Steelers are always going to have defense. That's the calling card of Mike Tomlin. Now you're talking about a team that can win close games if they need to, but also if they need to score points with a team that's trying to, make it a shootout like Baltimore can, because Baltimore can just score at will. You can score some points now. It used to be when Pittsburgh played a high octane offense, they were gonna at one point lose that game because they're limited. They only gonna score like 24 points. That's like their max. Now that is no longer the max for them. You're talking about a team that can score 30-some points if they need to with a defense. This is a recipe for this. This is why they're leading that division right now. I don't know if that's going to hold. I think Baltimore is the class of that division. But man, I would say in that Mike Tomlin knows how to win games in that division. And one thing he's also good at is winning games in that division. So the question is I think this is a playoff team right now, but we got to see. They got a lot of football to play, and the toughest football is yet to play.
Yeah, they have the toughest football left to play. This is also a team that if Russell Wilson can continue to play at least above average level, then it'll be big, because one thing Russell Wilson brings that Justin Fields didn't bring is Russell Wilson's always had a pretty good deep ball and a pretty good downfield pass.
Yes.
So he doesn't always make the best decision. There's sometimes he gets caught up in it. Red zone, he's not great in always. There's some different factors in there that he's not great at, but he's always been pretty good, and he has that high arcing pass he can throw downfield. And because of that, it's helping out some of these receivers that are maybe don't run the best routes but can get open downfield and run under a ball. And then it helped out their run game a ton, because it is something back to Ben Roethlisberger, throw it downfield and open up that run game a little bit more. Is you're creating room now because they can't pack everyone in the box and pack everybody up and play it tight, because they know you're probably not going to chuck it downfield and just play man downfield and trust the ball is not going to be there. They have to stick some guys back. And so you just start running the ball with Harris until everybody moves up, and then you throw it over the top of them again. you just kind of go back and forth, and they get to pick their poison. And eventually teams will figure out how to play it a little bit better. But until they do, it's a great, feeding ground for the Steelers right now, because you're just able to take what they give you, and you actually have somebody that can go over the top, which you didn't necessarily have for the last, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, since Big Ben, it's the last time. Now, I don't know if I don't think, he's going to be their franchise quarterback going forward. I'm not saying that at all, but he may be one of those surprise stories, like a Geno Smith or even a Jared Goff. Now, Jared Goff's a franchise quarterback, of course, but where a team like a Baker Mayfield, where a team assumed, let's get a bridge guy who's capable, who's competent, who'll buy us some time until we can find our franchise quarterback. And then they end up finding something special with that bridge quarterback and decide maybe we can stick with him a little bit longer. Maybe we got more time to find our quarterback of the future. Now, the Seahawks are already, that's for Geno Smith. I think they are already in that process. But I think there are a couple of those stories, and this could be one of them. We'll see. Could be where he, revitalizes his image and reinvents himself with another team. That is becoming more common than it used to be in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit older than a lot of these guys that do that. He's already 35. So it's, a lot of these guys that do it are around 20, like late 20s, early 30s. So he's a little bit later in that, but it is something that you can say this can buy you a season or two. He is going to be a free agent after the year, so you have to be able to bring him back. But at 35, the market's not going to be huge for him. So you could probably, and he'd be happy to be somewhere that they want to have him if he plays well enough. So maybe you get 2 or 3 more years out of him. And if you say, well, now he's a 3-year gap instead of a 1-year gap, it not only allows us to then try and draft a guy next year or maybe the year after, and then put him behind him and not have to start him year one, like where you got into that problem with Kenny Pickett, where it was just, hey, you got to play. We got nobody. You got to play. And he wasn't ready to go. Everybody knew when you drafted him, he wasn't going to be ready to go year one.
Wasn't ready.
And so you just kind of stunt growth at that point. But if you're able to give somebody that little break and go that way, then maybe the way you can draft somebody a little bit later and not take someone in the first round and see what they do next year, depending on how you're looking. It just gives you a lot more options. Now, teams will lean in on it more. Plus, again, you haven't played in your division games. So you are still also going to play 3 teams twice in the rest of your season. So everyone gets to see the same Russell Wilson twice. It's not like they played Justin Fields and now they play Russell Wilson and the game plan has to change. They have to throw out a lot of the game film they already saw on you. They're going to see the same guy twice. So it'll be interesting to see how teams adjust, especially the Ravens, but the Browns are looking a little bit better with Jameis Winston came in. The Bengals have talent on that roster. We know they can make an impact. So all of those plays, they still have the Commanders coming up next week. They still have the Chiefs on there. They still have the Eagles on that schedule.
Yeah, it's a tough second stretch.
So they got a lot of teams that they have to fight through. But it is interesting to see that there's a reason why they switched to him. And the question is, are his flaws going to start popping back out again? So far, they haven't shown his flaws as much. Just like we talked about Winston earlier. Which one are you going to get? The guy who makes bad reads and throws interceptions and, can't get a completion downfield and starts throwing out of bounds? Or are you going to get the guy who delivers bombs down the field and then makes the right play for the handoff too?
Yep. No, I'm with you. And I think you might get a little bit of both, truth be told, down the stretch because you got such tough games with Russell Wilson. And honestly, that may be the best you can hope for because that's the case. Let's say you just lose half. Let's say you lose, you got 9 games left, say you lose 5. That still puts you at 10 wins. And that, you should definitely be on the cusp of you should definitely be a playoff team right there on the cusp of it if you're a 10-win team. If they get 11, they're definitely. But I think right now they could be a 10-win team depending on, like I said, how they finish the stretch up. But I think winning at least 4 of the next 5 is realistic for them. Yeah, now, that's a tough stretch. Like it ain't no game. You got Washington, Baltimore. You just saw Cleveland looks different now with Jameis. The Bengals, they ain't no easy win because that's division. And Philadelphia, then Kansas City, Baltimore again. If you only win 3 down the stretch, you ain't gonna make the playoffs. Like it could be just that simple. Like you got to get to double digits, I think, to be a playoff team. The way some of just to give yourself a little margin for error. I think.
No, I think you do, and we know the Steelers team. They want to make the playoffs. They want to have a winning record. It's all that. Mike Tomlin and the grief he gets because he hasn't been winning. So there is a certain factor too of getting there isn't necessarily going to make anybody happy. It doesn't actually solve any of your problems. It doesn't mean Russell Wilson is now your guy that you can have a couple more years because no one wants to just keep doing that. The clamor in Pittsburgh will be to bring in somebody else. So, you need a little bit more out of him, but we just haven't seen. We'll have to see with Russell Wilson through those next couple of weeks. And you'll get to see it tested very much when these coaches see them twice. In that second game they play with the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Browns, that second game they play against them, is Russell Wilson a plus or a minus for your team in those? And if he's a plus in those games, then you have a real shot in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he'll make, because think about it. I mean, the AFC East is down other than Buffalo.
Yep.
The AFC South is down other than the Texans.
Yeah.
Right.
Those divisions are garbage except for the Bills and Texans.
Right.
It's so bad.
Denver's a 5-win team. They're a bit of a surprise, but the Kansas City. And maybe Denver makes a run here or something. Is that sustainable? I don't think so. Indy is going to be terrible just because the starting quarterback completes less than 50% of his passes. I don't see that happening. If Cleveland decides to make a run, they got a long way to go. They got to basically go they got they're 2-6, so they got to essentially win out for them to make a run. Cincinnati could do something, but they're 3-5. They're digging out of a deep hole. So Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Oh yeah, so I think man, I definitely think they're in with 10 wins. Hell, they might get in with 9 the way things looking.
Yeah, they might, but again, that's not. I don't think that's where they want to be.
No, you should be you're a 10-win organization. They want to win double digit wins.
How you're starting off?
Respectable.
Yeah, if you're starting off and then it just all tails off, Harris is not being able to run the ball anymore. The Wilson becomes a net negative for you in the passing game. That's when everybody looks back at Tomlin and goes, "God, we get it, but you just can't. You can't put it all together, and we need you to put it all together, or else everyone's going to start to get upset because it's not about winning." It's not about winning and getting the playoffs. It's about winning in the playoffs. It's what Cowboys fans will tell you too.
Oh yeah. Don't get us started on the Cowboys fans. That's a depressing issue to start talking about right now. But yeah, no, I think Steelers may have found a little something. So give Tomlin some props because a lot of people criticized that decision to go to Russell Wilson, but he saw something. He knew something. That's why Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the NFL. All right, the other topic I wanted to get to, and we'll get to some other NFL news notes and nuggets with that on the other side. But one of the other topics we want to discuss was Quinn Ewers. Speaking of starting quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers has been a hot topic of conversation among Longhorn fans the last couple of weeks, of course, with him in seeing some signs of regression, especially versus Georgia. I thought he had a nice bounce back performance versus Vanderbilt, but Longhorn fans now have a new kind of point that they are fixated on, or at least a new critique that they have decided to fixate on about Quinn Ewers, and this is his average depth of target, his ADOT. There was a tweet yesterday that went viral talking about the ADOT of Quinn Ewers and where he ranks among college quarterbacks, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the trend, which I think is somewhat alarming, not necessarily the stat itself, but Sark was asked about the conservative, very underwhelming passing game now that Texas has started to deploy more of, which is underneath throws, short throws, quick throws to get Quinn into a rhythm. That was certainly the game plan versus Vandy. Why was that the game plan? What don't Longhorn fans like about that specific game plan? We'll discuss it all, and we'll hear from Steve Sarkisian on the other side. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Mike Tom Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to some Texas football conversation. Yesterday, saw a tweet that a lot of Longhorn fans saw. Cody Carpenter over at Orange Bloods tweeted out that Quinn Ewers' ADOT, his average depth of target, 5.9 yards in 2024, ranking 79th out of 79 teams in the power conferences. And a lot of Longhorn fans freaked out about this. It does match the eye test, of course, especially in that Vanderbilt game where he was getting the ball out quickly and essentially throwing to a lot of extensions of the running game. These are long handoffs, detached screens. Of those, I believe he ended up having 37 passes in that game. I mean, 12 of them were behind the line of scrimmage. So you're talking about damn near a third of his passes were behind the line of scrimmage. He only had 9 passes that were more than 10 yards down the field. So it was by design, number one, I think, because to get Quinn in the groove and Quinn with him. And he is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback potentially in all of college football at throwing the short to underneath routes, the short intermediate routes. He is not naturally a good deep ball thrower. I think we've all known that. But when you got to go back and look at it, it's the trend of his ADOT and average depth of target, and it does tell a different story than just, oh man, look at his average depth of target right now. Because Longhorn fans didn't care. His average depth of target all year long it's been very low. Right? It's been very shallow, if you will. In game 1, it was 6.3. In the Michigan game, where we all agree he had his best performance of the season, maybe the best performance of his career, definitely in the conversation for his best career performance, going up against an NFL caliber defensive coordinator, 4 or 5 guys that are going to play on Sundays and be drafted this year on that Michigan defense. I mean, that it was legit, and they were on the road, big time game, and he averaged 6 yards, average depth of target. He's at 5.9 now, but in that Michigan game, it was just a 6-yard average depth of target, 6.2 in his third start. Then he has the injuries. He comes back 6 yards, 5.8, and 5.5. Those were his average depth of target in his starts this season. So he's actually been, very shallow in his average depth of target all season long. Then you go look at his career average depth of target, right? It's 5.9 now, but last year was 8.4. Perfectly fine. In 2022, it was 10.5, his average depth of target. Now, think about where we were as a program offensively a couple of years ago in 2022. Remember, at one point, we were criticizing Sark for being almost too obsessed and fixated on the deep ball. Right? That he would, after that Oklahoma State game in Stillwater, we were discussing how he was too obsessed with the deep ball. That it was something that almost he had to curtail because it was hurting the team. Half of them were on first down. He would end up in second and long and third and long. And he didn't care because he had Bijan. And he just put some Bijan on it with a side of Rojo, and it fixed everything because a 2nd and 10 means, it means we'll get to 3rd and 4 pretty easily. Well, I just hand it off to Bijan, put some Bijan on it. And that's where he was. But I think as he started to grow as a coach and evolve, and I've given Sark a lot of credit for this, he realized he was doing more harm than good by forcing that deep ball because it wasn't Quinn's strength, and it wasn't necessarily something that you, even with the pieces he had, because he thought, oh, if I bring Xavier Worthy in here, I'll have the fastest player in college football with the quarterback with the golden arm who can touch any blade of grass on a football field, and my deep ball will naturally happen. And it didn't. Actually, Texas is one of the worst deep ball passing teams in college football. For the last 2-3 years, they have been. They just don't connect on deep balls for real. Quinn has improved on his deep ball, but this is not what Sark envisioned necessarily for the offense. He actually did want to go deep. Now, throughout the years, he has decided, okay, it's not a strength of Quinn, so I will curtail the deep ball and my fixation with it, and we'll build the offense around what Quinn is really good at. Quinn has improved. He has gotten better with the deep ball. But, guys, his deep ball rate, it was the same in the first 3 games that he started as it has been the last 3 games. It's a little under 10%. It's around 9%, 9.3% to 9.7%. His percentage of throws short, which is, anywhere from the line of scrimmage to 10 yards or behind the line of scrimmage, You were at 72% of those throws prior to the injury, and now you're at 68% of those throws that are short or behind the line of scrimmage. You're actually throwing fewer passes short and behind the line of scrimmage than you threw prior to the injury. He's pretty much the same guy. The difference is, Longhorn fans, and I love y'all. The difference is y'all have seen Arch. That's the difference. That's why, oh man, now that 5.9 average depth of target, that's a problem. That's a problem. It is. It could be a problem. It is. But the reason it's a problem now for Longhorn fans is because they've seen Arch and they know Arch, like, chicks dig the long ball, so does Arch. And the first time y'all saw Arch, when he made his first start, he threw 10 deep balls. And we hadn't seen an offense throw that many deep balls since at Oklahoma State game, pretty much, when it was a broke hand Quinn throwing to a broke hand Xavier Worthy. And we thought, in a swirling whirlwind, all right, and we thought, what's going on? And they were just baiting Sark into throwing the deep ball. They kept, their safeties were sitting on routes. The corners were being really aggressive. The deep ball was open, but they knew you couldn't hit it. That's why they kept giving it to you. It's like that NBA player that's always open for a 3-point shot. Yeah, you're open because you can't hit it. That's why they leave you open. In Texas, that's how, and I think it was Jim Knowles, actually, who's the defensive coordinator now for Ohio State. He's the one that kind of rope-a-dope Sark into that. And Sark evolved and Sark learned. And I think now Sark's at the point where he's not going to force Quinn. He's not going to force that deep ball on Quinn, or when the defense is they're actually baiting him into throwing it deep because they're giving him the underneath. They're giving him the numbers advantage underneath. And for Sark, he essentially is deciding, you know what? If the defense is going to give it to us, I'll take it. Because I think he's concerned also that his running game hasn't really developed an identity, and he can't impose his will onto his running game. So you have to look at all of these behind the line of scrimmage passes, guys. These are just run plays. So just add them to the run count. Right? Quit thinking of them like they're even a pass attempt from Quinn. They're basically run plays. So he had 12 passes behind the line of scrimmage. Add them to the rushing attempts. That's what they are. And they're a way to supplement your running game, which is not dominant right now. And you do that with wide receivers on the outside, winning the numbers advantage. Go look at go back and look at the Vanderbilt film. They're giving up 9 yards to Texas ball carriers or pass receivers in the open field and coming down trying to tackle them. I don't want to do that. That's a Herculean task. And Sarkis is figuring, you know what? I'll just play pitch and catch. Can you beat that one guy out in the open field? And most of the time, Texas receivers can't. There will come a time where a team like Georgia will have the ability to take away all of your short underneath passes. And when teams do that, Sark wants to make them pay by taking them over the top, which you can do. And he actually did it in the Vanderbilt game a little bit. But Georgia, the beauty of their blueprint is before you can make teams pay for being overly aggressive and take them over the top when they're starting to suffocate your quick game, your underneath game, is your pass rush. That's what really turns the tables when, if you're going to take away my underneath and my short throws, I'm just going to take you over the top. Well, those routes take time, and that time is all the time that the defensive ends and the edge rushers and the pass and the pressure packages need to get home. And that's why against Georgia, this blueprint blew up. So if you're a Longhorn fan, you're thinking, yeah, this is great, but down the line, maybe against A&M, Elko, a defensive coordinator, a defensive-minded head coach, maybe, in the college football playoff, maybe in the SEC title game, this blueprint, this recipe is going to, it's going to be derailed by a team that, like Georgia, that has the capability to do both. All right, let's hear from Sark, because Sark was asked about why so many screens, why so many underneath throws. What was that part of the game plan? Here's what Sark said about Texas's offensive game plan versus Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Quinn is really elite. He can get the ball out of his hands so quickly and so accurately. I think back to DeAndre's second touchdown. I mean, that was some really high level stuff. I mean, he's got a blitzer in his face, and he's able to catch and get that ball out. And as accurate as the ball was, DeAndre never had to break stride, and then he's able to make the safety miss for a touchdown. The screen game's critical to what we do. The shallow cross game, the check downs to the running backs are so big to what we do. I mean, I don't know if people know this. We don't throw it deep all the time, but every team we play seems to think that we do. And so it's like they just love to back up. And so the value in getting the ball to our running backs in space, with them to be able to make people miss, even in the 3rd and 2, the ball to Trey Wisner that Quinn hits him on is a critical play and a first down. So the advantages for us to getting players that are really versatile that can do those things is huge for us. And then having the quarterback can distribute the ball like Quinn can in those arenas.
There you go. So that's one of Quinn's, X-Man abilities. When Sark looks for a quarterback, he says physically he looks for 2 things. He looks for accuracy. Are you accurate? Which Quinn is really accurate, especially in the short intermediate, but obviously not as much on his deep passes. And quick hands. He wants quick hands. Why? Because he wants you to be able to manipulate the mesh point on RPOs, and he wants you to be able to get the ball out really fast, different arm angles, accurately to yak daddies in yak opportunities to get yards after the catch. And Quinn is very compatible with Sark's offense in that respect. He does a great job of it. So those are like that's why they're so the ball placement is so important, because they're not real good run plays if he throws the ball and it's a little bit off and the receiver's got to adjust to it. And while he's adjusting to it, the defender is barreling down on him and then he can't get the yards after the catch. It's got to be on the money so that I can catch the football, still identify the defender in front of me whilst catching the football. It's not accurate. If I got to adjust too much to it, well, I can't. Now I'm not identifying the defender. And I got to catch the football. Then I got to reset and then recalibrate. Okay, now where's the defender? But these routes are coming, just what he said about DeAndre Moore and just about Trey Wisner, as they are running their route, the flare route, the wheel route, they're identifying the defender and where he is. They know what the defender is out of your periphery. And then you catch the football. If you can catch it in stride, you can, in your head, mentally, you can already start to set that defender up and know exactly what you're going to do when you get the football. But the ball's got to be on the money in order to do that. So that's why Quinn does work well with this system. And Longhorn fans I know don't necessarily want to hear that, but that's why he was part of the solution versus Vanderbilt, not the problem, guys. And Sark was asked about the underneath passes. He was asked again. I think this time maybe he got a little annoyed that, hey, I gave you an answer before about the short passes. And then they asked me again. Here's Sark on why so many underneath throws.
Tell him to move up, then we'll throw it over. They played man-to-man on one snap that wasn't in the red area. We threw a touchdown pass over their head. Tell them to move up.
He sounds annoyed. And not just annoyed with the media, not at all. More annoyed with that's how teams keep playing him. They keep playing him like he chunks it deep 20% of the time. It's like, guys, I only throw it deep 20 yards or more 9% of the time. The average depth of target for my quarterback right now is 5.9 yards. It's the lowest in the Power 5. Why are y'all so deep? Can y'all come up and play us a little tougher? That way I can use some of these plays in my playbook that actually do go vertical and they can get behind defenders. Right now, it'd be a fool's errand to try to chunk it deep because you're chunking it into a numbers disadvantage. He's saying the numbers advantage is shallow and short and underneath because they're dropping back their defense. And that's why, and this is why, and I got to this earlier. I was like, so Sark, you're telling me, because this football's a numbers game, you're telling me they got too deep all the time, right? They're dropping back too deep, which is fine. I get that. All right, because I think there is some propaganda. Think about Xavier Worthy, fastest player in history of the combine. A.D. Mitchell ran a really fast time, and everybody kept talking about how fast Texas wide receiving core was last year, fastest in college football potentially. And this year, it was going to be even faster with all the speed they were bringing in with Bolden and Golden and Bond. It was going to be a faster wide receiving core. So the propaganda, a lot of it has led, I think, to your opponents deciding, no. I don't want to get beat on those deep passes. I want to force them to march length of the field. The old Bill Walsh adage, right? Human error, force human error. All right, to be a variable, and it'll work out in your favor defensively because human error usually hurts the defense. So it hurts the offense more than it does the defense because the offense is built on precision and execution and timing and all those things. So if that's the case, you should be able to run the football better, though. So I'll concede that's why Sark is throwing the underneath throws is because teams, I watched the film, and they are backing up their safeties and they're dropping them back pretty deep, too high safety structure a lot of the time. If that is the case, Texas should be able to run the ball better because that means they have light boxes. Mathematically, they cannot load the box. They can't win the numbers advantage in the box and have 2 deep safeties. Now, you can rotate them after the snap, rotate them late, but you still should be able to get guys in position and a hat on a hat with the numbers advantage in the run game. And essentially, Sark is admitting with the game plan that he can't do that. Because if he could, he would. He can't. That's why he's throwing out to the flats. That's why he's throwing out to the perimeter, detached screens. That's the running game, guys. Because he doesn't believe he can have that type of advantage with the big humans you have inside. That's another big issue. Why can't you just hand it off if you got the numbers advantage there? And then once you hand it off and you start pounding the rock, you know what they'll do? What every defense has done since the beginning of time. When you start running the rock on them, they'll bring that safety back up into the box. They'll start stacking the box slowly but surely. And that's when you get your numbers advantage on the outside because you get your man-to-mans on your man-to-man matchups on the outside. Sark's admitting he can't do that right now. So he's saying that's why the detached screens, that's why I'm throwing the football, that's why the extension of the running game. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's just him being a good coach. I would say coaches are problem solvers. You know, football and life are constant struggles, deciding between what you want to be and what you need to be. And I think Sark wants to be a team that can play bully ball and play power football when they need to. And he wants to chunk it deep. And he wants to be, that's the combination. But guys, why do you think he stockpiling all the damn speed on the outside? You think so he can throw hitch routes and throw bubble screens all damn day? That is not what he wants to do. Trust me, I assure you. All right, but that's life in football are constant struggles, deciding what you want to be and what you need to be. And what he needed to be versus Vanderbilt was that short underneath passing game. And what he needs to be right now is that as an extension of the running game because he can't just line up and run it downhill on teams. He can't play bully ball right now. And that's an offensive line problem, in my opinion. Yes, running back, talent could be an issue there with the injuries, but I think ultimately it's on the O-line. The O-line is starting to underachieve here. And that's also maybe affecting your downhill passing, so your downfield passing game. And maybe why Stark's like, I ain't going downfield. We've allowed 11 sacks in the last 2 weeks. I don't trust our offensive line to hold up with a downfield pass game. I know they can hold up for the 2 seconds it takes me to throw the football to the flat and within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, 2.1 seconds on average or 2.2 seconds on average time to throw for Quinn when he was blitzed. And they blitzed half the time, balls out quickly, insulating the pass protection. So I think Sark is revealing, he's giving you the answers, guys. He's telling you, you just don't like the answer. You don't like what he's telling you because basically it ain't what you want to hear. And a lot of y'all just want to hear that Arch is going to be in there throwing a deep ball, which he would throw more deep balls, but Quinn gives you the better chance to win right now. I'll say that. That's just the reality of it. All right, we come back. We'll get into off the record on the other side. We'll talk about this NBA legend getting a statue and how it could be this bad. I don't understand how people who are getting honored in this way can be honored in such a horrible, really disappointing fashion. Because I don't know how they got the statue this bad. It's being mocked and ridiculed all across the sports world. We will do the same when we come back right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. NBA season has started, and the Miami Heat last month they announced that Dwayne Wade was getting his own statue in honor of his basically of him being an all-time great, and it was supposed to be a likeness of him celebrating, I believe, an iconic moment after they won their championship, one of their championships, but. And it doesn't look like it doesn't look like Dwayne Wade. That's all I can say. It doesn't look anything like it looks more like do you remember the Dave Chappelle like character from Con Air? And remember they threw like his dead body out and it was like a mannequin, but it wasn't really him, and it was like a scene where that's kind of it looked kind of like that. Or some people are saying it looks a bit like Morpheus from the Matrix movies. That maybe that could be something that you could compare to the likeness. Either way, it doesn't look like Dwayne Wade at all.
No,
Like,
it looks like
him.
the sculptor lost the picture of Dwayne Wade and did it from memory.
Ugh, really?
It's
You have no memory of Dwayne Wade?
That's what I'm saying. It seems like they weren't able to look at a picture and just go, oh, that's not how his eyes look or his face or anything on it. Do you know it at actually what it looks like? You know, when you would go to the store and you would for Halloween and you would look at all the masks.
Oh yeah.
And the masks are all just off a bit and they're like doesn't actually look like the thing, but you got that's what it looks like. It looks like a giant Halloween mask of Dwayne Wade. It's too big. The head is too big by itself. So it feels like a mask. It fits over a regular suit human size head anyway.
I agree with that. That's a good point. It looks like a mask of what somebody would think Dwayne Wade looks like.
Yeah.
But
and then especially when he's yelling with a mouth that's way wider than anybody's ever yelled with.
Yeah, his face is too muscular. I mean, it's just a terrible likeness. They keep getting these wrong though. Remember Cristiano Ronaldo had one of these?
Oh, that was really bad. I mean, even Kobe's that they just did out was not good.
It wasn't good either. I'm like, how do they?
No.
Are they getting? I'm sure they're getting the best like sculptors or whatever. I mean, artists in the world to do these, but I gotta tell you, they are coming up short a lot of the times. The one they didn't the Mavs do one for Dirk? I want to say the same guy did them both. Yeah, he did actually. It's the same guy that did both. That did Dirk's and did this one, apparently. But I don't know. Yeah. Oh, Omri. I'm sure I'm going to screw up his name. Omri Amrani was also behind the creation of Dirk's statue. It says here. Dirk's one wasn't bad. Remember, it's him fading away. I think that one where he's got the.
So the Dirk one isn't good.
But it's.
And the face,
but you can't see the face though.
But no, that's what I'm saying. He did it in a way where he's fading backwards.
Yeah, you don't. The face is like facing upwards, so you don't see the face. You really just see the likeness. And maybe she did something like that with a famous, iconic image of Dwayne Wade. Because for that to be up there for the fans to celebrate that for the rest of time. That's kind of the whole point of the statue is going to be there forever. It's like that's not his reaction to it. Also. You can tell he was not happy. He was not pleased.
Well, what's funny though is he saw the face beforehand. Like he saw it while they were making it. He knew what it was going to look like.
He just knew it was going to be bad.
Maybe he thought at the time he was like, "Hey man, maybe fix it up a little bit," and they just didn't.
Yeah, maybe it was like, well, they're like, oh no, when it's final, it'll look a little different. They always say that. Oh no, it'll look a little different. It looks nothing like Dwayne Wade. That's a sad. That was
it. There's a commercial with Ryan Fitzpatrick right now, where that's the joke is that they never get it right. Where it's Ryan Fitzpatrick and he's like, why would you do this? And they're like, we got you an award. And he's like, why would you do this to me though? His teeth are all messed up and stuff.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, it's not easy, obviously. It's a work of art, but you're right. If I'm LeBron James, say I'm an all-time great, and I know I'm going to get one of these. I would start doing my research right now on who the greatest artists are, and I would want them to give me. I don't know how you would do it. I guess they could do it with some plaster or something. I need you to show it to me before we put it in the bronze.
But they
form
showed
or
it to Dwayne Wade, and he did. I'm at the point now. I'm like, I get you want to make an artistic rendering of this. We have the technology. Just 3D print me one, man. Just 3D print me one.
Thank you.
Just give me one that looks exactly like me.
Yes.
And it'll be awesome, and we'll all be happy with it. I get it. I'm very much for the arts, but art, you have failed. This is something you have failed at miserably.
Yes. Time and time again, we see it too.
There's not a lot of them that you see and you go, what a great representation. You should much more often look at it and go, oh, okay.
Kind of looks like him.
That's what you chose. All right.
How's the Michael Jordan statue outside of the Chicago one? Is it good?
I'm sure it's better because those are old school ones too. They used to do. I feel like they were better back in the day.
New school ones. Why? Because are they just being cheap now?
I don't know if it's being cheap, if it's a rush, or if it's that it was just the way
the MJ one is very artistic though too, and it's kind of like the Dirk one. It's an action because he's doing the Jumpman pose. So you really don't. I don't know if you get a direct look at MJ's face. Like,
oh yeah, that doesn't look like Michael Jordan.
It does. It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, yeah. See, I've never really seen the face of it. There you go. So maybe it's just hard to get him. Period.
I'm sure it's hard to get him. I'm not claiming that it's not. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, that looks nothing like MJ. Actually, if that's it.
No, we need to work on this. This is a problem.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's just we got AI and all this technology.
I'm all for art, but come on, man.
What are you doing, man? Just give me the AI technological like advanced version of it. You're right, 3D printing, whatever it is. Let the computers do it because we have obviously proven that that's not one of our as humans. That's not going to be where we shine. Is the creating the representations and the likeness of our iconic athletes over time. I don't know why I feel like we get other ones right. I feel like there are statues.
I feel like
of like historic, right? Of like historic iconic people. And I feel like, whether it be politicians or whether they're just great leaders I feel like we get those right.
Yeah, we have
MLK statue.
We have awesome murals that get painted everywhere. I think maybe it too. It's just these guys who get famous for the sculptures are just really good BSers, and they're like, "I'm the best," and everyone's like, "I guess they're the best." Everybody says they're the best. Like, well, do any of their faces look like actual face? Like, not a one. Well, maybe don't pick them. Maybe don't pick them. Then.
Actually, now I'm kind of looking at this MLK statues they have, like in Detroit. It doesn't look like MLK at all. Not gonna actually, it doesn't look like MLK. I'm looking at one at the national parks. It's like a carving of him in stone and granite. Yeah, it kind of looks like him. I don't know. Maybe this is something that we just don't do well as. Yeah, right. I don't know. Maybe it's just a humankind thing. I can go back and look at all the great sculptures and all the great arts, like representations of likeness of some great historical figure, and see if they're good. And not the paintings. Paintings are great. We're talking about like either a sculpture or some type of statue, of bust, that kind of stuff. How the NFL busts? Are they terrible? The Hall of Fame
can't be great, right?
So maybe, So maybe we got to give this to AI, man. Maybe it's time. It's time to give this to AI and 3D printing. It's just give it up. Maybe it's just something that human beings don't need to pursue anymore.
I mean, the Vince Young bust is not terrible.
Oh yeah.
That was not terrible. It's a little thick. Like he's thick now, but I think they would have made it a little less thick, but it's not bad.
The Earl Campbell statue. How's it look? Does it look like Earl?
No, let's see. You gotta look up my Earl.
It does kind of look like a young Earl. It favors a young Earl. It does. It favors a young Earl. But it still could just be a random black dude though, too. I don't know if he has the detail of Earl like it should.
No, but it doesn't not look like him. If we're setting the bar now, it is to make it not look like it's not them. That if you were to give me 50 guesses of who that was, I would never say Dwayne Wade.
No, that's a great point. If they didn't have the number and it wasn't in front of the Miami
I would have named historical figures before I would have gone Dwayne Wade.
That's a great test right there. That's true. No association with that team. Could you still name who that is, who that likeness is supposed to represent? The Ricky Williams statue, I mean, I just think because of the dreads, we all think it looes like Ricky. I don't know if it does or either, but he's got the dreads. So, yeah, that doesn't look like Ricky at all. It just has the dreads. It does. Now looking at it, actually doesn't look like Ricky at all. It just has the dreads. It just looks like a dude with dreads. We should ask Ricky what he thinks about it. It's like he'll say it's great. I'm sure he will. I mean, you get a statue of yourself. Do you really? Are you really gonna be that much of an a-hole and not like how
The
the
Ricky
likeness
Williams
of it?
statue looks like a video game character of Ricky Williams.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Ricky.
No, but it looks just like the Madden character or the college football character is what it looks like.
Yeah. Hey, those are getting better though, because they actually do
They are
use
getting better.
now they got the AI technology on that. So those actually do look more like Rod B back in the day. You could not tell who I was on the video game. I just look like a pixelated figure running out there. All right, we come back. We'll get into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. There are a lot of unlikely scenarios that took place this past weekend in the NFL. We'll go through the unlikeliest of them. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Low and Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when Patrick, my co-host, and I did your place jams that reached the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. So we appreciate all of his energy and creativity when it comes to the musically themed days of the week. We also appreciate his effort when it comes to the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is posted right now at the Horn ATX. Patrick, what is the topic for the big fat poll of the day?
Big fat poll today. What does Texas need to work on the most during the bye week? We've got penalties at 44%, pass protection at 40%, and tied at 8% downfield passing in the run game. And the general consensus is all of it. They need to improve all of it. You need to fix all of your problems. You need to have no more mistakes on the season. 100% passing. 100 every run is a touchdown. Guys, no more penalties rest of the season.
No, I mean, like I went and chose penalties as my top thing, but honestly, if you improve on any of them, it's a great thing. As long as you improve on one of the four during the bye week.
I'd like you to improve on all of them too. I think you're going to work on all of them, but I think you have to put special focus on a couple of things. And I think the penalties, the biggest one of penalties, really, because you've been working on the pre-snap penalties, you've been working on, you just discipline on a lot of those things. I think the holding and seeing how SEC officials call holding, that is going to be a huge point of emphasis when you can kind of take them out of pads and show them game film and just work through with them a little bit more in meetings, what they're calling and why they're calling this in the SEC and how can you work around those. I think that is going to be a big point of emphasis that needs to be there because they're just getting called back on too many big plays, and it will help the run game if they stop getting called for holdings because you're probably losing 25 to 30 yards a game on holds.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. That's a good point. I agree with you about because he said there were 4 explosive runs or something like that. I think he said that were called back because of the penalties on offense. So I think you're right about that. The offensive line really is where I mean that's where all these things are affected by the offensive line play. And right now that is the area. I think we were all concerned that Quinn was regressing. I'm not as concerned about Quinn's regression. I think Quinn had a really nice bounce back performance. We can get into the details, but I actually thought he had a nice bounce back performance. The offensive line has not bounced back. They have not.
No,
actually, their performance versus Vandy to me was more troubling than the performance versus Georgia because Georgia, man, Georgia was the standard of college football right now. So getting beat by Georgia ain't no shame in that, and you getting basically dominated by them and whipped by them. They got 5 stars all throughout every level of that defense. They got Kirby Smart, who's a defensive-minded head coach and one of the best, if not the best, in college football. I get that. And them holding you to 1.1 yards per carry is disappointing, but understandable just because you weren't ready to play and Georgia played the best game. They flipped the switch on you. Vanderbilt was able to get 4 sacks. They didn't get 7, but they got 4, which you asked that question, Patrick, a couple of days before the game. How many sacks are acceptable, basically, in your mind for Texas to give up? How many sacks do you expect to give up? I said 1 versus Vanderbilt. Well, it turns out it was 4. And I believe at the point we said if it's more than like 3, like we got some problems.
Yeah.
Like, you got some serious issues going on. Well, it was 4. And they did come about, in my opinion, in troubling ways. Because if you go look at those 4 sacks, one of them, but actually not one of them, 1, 2, 3, 2 of them came via cornerback blitz. 2 of them came via cornerbacks. 1 came via an A-gap blitz. Those were also issues that, or at least those were ways Georgia exposed to as well in pass protection. Some of those A-gap blitzes, and then that cornerback blitz, of course, which got the strip sack. And I went back and looked at it. Out of those 6 splash plays that Vanderbilt made, the 2 strip sacks and the 2 tip interceptions, and the 4 sacks. 5 of those plays involved either an A-gap blitz and or a cornerback blitz. So they figured out something. And I don't think that's a coincidence. And so that's why it was more troubling. Troubling because Vandy can't beat you just one-on-ones. I mean, they had 1 sack where Cam Williams just got beat by his guy. But for the most part, you should be able to win your one-on-ones consistently. They were going to need a schematic advantage. They were going to need some type of cheat code, some type of hack to be able to create that pressure, and they found it in a couple of ways. A-gap blitzes, interior blitzes like that, delayed rushers. They also found it with the cornerback blitz. That's a troubling thing because they schematically were able to create pressure. It wasn't Georgia beat you with a 3-man rush, 4-man rush, 5-man blitz, 6-man blitz, 0 blitz. They beat you, with one-on-ones, their guy versus your guy. It didn't matter. They showed a variety of different ways how they could beat you and whip you. With Vandy, it was just a couple of concepts they kept using that Texas never really were able to figure out and solve. And Florida's going to do the same thing. And they'd be stupid. Yeah. They'd be dumb not to bring a cornerback blitz, and they'd be dumb not to go with some A-gap blitzes against Texas.
No, and I mean,
you'll see that.
And that's where it's like, as much as we're talking about, you have to build up that confidence again in that room, because we saw it with Sark and Quinn rebuilding confidence. That 17 completions, all that was Quinn, you're second guessing too many times and holding the ball and missing your guy. And the play's designed that your guy's open, just hit him. Just hit your guy. I know you don't want to keep throwing it underneath. I know you like to, but just hit your guys and we'll just keep moving. And they got him back in that rhythm. And there was still a couple of plays. Some of those sacks, you still saw him hold the ball a little longer than he needed to. And it was still that little bit of confidence that, a year ago, Quinn wasn't that. Quinn had no problem letting go of the ball. And so to get back to that confidence, I think they're building that right way after the injury. This game was a step forward to rebuilding that confidence to get him to where he needs to be. But the offensive line did not get any of that confidence back. And when you don't have that confidence, that's when you're, maybe needing help on a block that you normally have no problem with because you're worried that you're missing another block and you're constantly not looking. You're not calling out protections correctly. You're not really watching the defense and someone moves and now everyone's not sure of what they did because Georgia shifted on you and you missed some on Georgia. So now Vanderbilt shifts and everybody has to stop and freak out. And then someone jumps on the line because, oh no, what protection do we have now? And those confidence that you didn't have that issue earlier in the season, that seems to rear its head right now. And you just need to, during the bye week, to go, you guys have got it. You guys are big humans. You have all these pieces. Georgia just came and outplayed you one week. But if you let that win and affect you against Vanderbilt and then against Florida and then against Arkansas, then Georgia cost us 4 games on the offensive line. Like you can't it's time to let it go.
Flush it.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. It definitely felt like that whatever psychological kind of defeatist attitude they had after the Georgia game, that it lingered into the Vanderbilt game.
Very much.
Because I'm with you. I think a lot of that is just them not being focused. And even Brian Roberson said, when I talked to him, he said, I think they're seeing ghosts.
Yep.
The offensive line seeing ghosts. I'm like, man.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even heard anybody use that term with O-linemen, but it does kind of describe some of the issues they may be having. All right, so there you go. The topic for the Big Fat Poll today. Go vote on it at the Horn ATX. We'll get to some other college football related items when we get into Rod's rant. Next segment, we'll hear from Mike Elko, the Aggies head coach. It's a reality, folks. It looks like one of the likely scenarios is that the Aggies and the Longhorns, when they face each other, there could be SEC title implications, SEC title game implications. So we'll talk about that coming up next segment. We'll also get you some Horn headlines, and then we'll get to some NFL headlines and NFL news, notes, and nuggets we didn't get to yesterday. The Chiefs made a trade. We'll talk about that. The rich get richer. We'll also get into the Hail Mary that happened over the weekend. Detroit with the most unlikeliest 50-point burger you've ever seen in maybe in NFL history. We'll also dive into Jameis Winston's just mind-blowing performance, most improbable performance probably of the weekend. Jameis Winston inspiring the Browns to a win over the Ravens, who everybody thought, oh man, might be one of the hottest teams in the league, and they cooled them off pretty quickly. We'll get into that, but first, let's get educated, updated, and informed with all the top stories of the day with Patrick Davis and the Horn headlines.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. In the NBA, the Rockets got their win back from Saturday with a 106-101 victory over the Spurs last night. Jalen Green once again led the way with 36 points, while Victor Wembanyama had a 20-rebound night for the Spurs. And Kyrie Irving stepped up for the Mavs in a 110-102 win over the Jazz with 23 points and 9 assists. Mavericks are back in action tonight against the Timberwolves. In the World Series, the Dodgers took a commanding 3-0 series lead last night, picking up a 4-2 win with the Yankees' ninth-inning rally falling short. New York will look to Aaron Judge to finally get going as he has gone 1 for 12 with 7 strikeouts in the series. Luis Gil is the scheduled starter for the Yankees tonight with everyone available in the bullpen trying to avoid the sweep. And in the NFL, the Steelers improved to 6-2 on the season after a 26-18 win over the Giants on Monday Night Football. Calvin Austin returned a punt for a touchdown and caught a pass for a touchdown in the game to help the Steelers get the win. And that's your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. I want to hit a couple of NFL topics here. We didn't hit the Kansas City Chiefs trade, so let's start with that trade. The Kansas City Chiefs trade a conditional 2026 sixth-round pick for the pass rusher Josh Uche. They actually had, I believe it was on I'm not mistaken, maybe it was on Pat McAfee, but I heard Bill Belichick talking about this trade because Bill Belichick knows, obviously, Josh Uche really well because he was there with the Patriots. And I mean, honestly, he's never really had a lot of playing time. I think he's only got like 3 starts in his career. So not a lot of playing time. He was a second-round pick initially in 2020. Uche has been kind of a rotational edge rusher, situational edge rusher for him. And he started just 4 games. So it's 4 career games he started, but had an 11.5 sack season in 2022, just broke out. And then he had just 3 takedowns in 2023. There was some talk about he was unhappy and an injury. He had just 7 tackles through 2024. But a lot of the belief was that he didn't want to be there and he's not emotionally invested. Remember, everybody thought that he was going to go to another team. They actually gave him a chance to sign with another team. He ended up signing back with the Patriots. He said he wanted to go to a contender too, but ended up signing back with the Patriots on a 1-year mercenary deal. And of course, that just lasts to the halfway point of this season. And now he's going to Kansas City because they need some pass rush help. And Brett Veach is on a mission as the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs, guys. I mean, this is a lesson for almost everybody in the league. I mean, they can be complacent. I mean, he can be satisfied. Guys got back-to-back championships. You know he's going to win another one with Patrick Mahomes at one point. He knows that too. He could be complacent and, be kind of sitting back on the laurels. And they're undefeated, by the way. They're still undefeated.
Yeah.
They're an undefeated team in the league. Nope. They probably have been as active as anybody so far before the trade deadline. Right? They acquired DeAndre Hopkins. Now they trade for Josh Uche. The Kareem Hunt, I believe they signed him when they needed a running back. If he sees, it ain't even got to be a glaring deficiency. If he sees any type of weakness or liability on his roster, he is moving quick. He is acting very quickly. And I think he just smells history. He knows I can make history winning 3 in a row. It's never been done. Yeah, we probably can win it right now with this team that we currently have, but why take a chance? Why take a chance in the playoffs? Oh man, we didn't have enough edge pressure. Oh man, we needed an extra running back. Oh man, we should have probably got another wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes. Why take a chance? He is not. Every possible issue that could arise on their roster as a result of a deficiency, a result of a hole in their roster, he's trying to fill it right now while he's got a chance. God bless him. And all the contenders are doing this, right? The Texans did it during the offseason. They were very aggressive in acquiring talent in the offseason, as aggressive as any team in the NFL. The Ravens were close, so they went and got Derrick Henry. It's like, we're close. We need something to put us over the top. The Chiefs, like I said, they're chasing something else. They're not chasing a team. Everybody else is chasing the Chiefs. They're chasing history. So they're like, what can put us over the top to be a team that wins 3 in a row? It's never happened in the NFL for a reason, guys. Because it's hard. It's real. All the great dynasties we've seen in the NFL, none of them have run 3 Super Bowls in a row. You want to know why? It's really hard. I know Jerry screwed it up. Cowboys probably should have done it. But either way, really tough to do. And he realizes that. I think studying history is like, no, man, I'm not gonna leave anything to chance. I'll give us every chance to do it based on the roster I build. So there are a lot of teams out there. And there are some teams that didn't need to do anything. Detroit hadn't done much. They don't need to. San Fran, they don't need to do much. They just need to get healthy. But the teams that they thought they needed to do something, the Bills, getting Amari Cooper, they're making moves. The Cowboys, they're not making any moves. The Cowboys believe that their roster as it stands is good enough. And to me, that's a miscalculation. And I think Cowboys fans are starting to realize it. And I don't know why the Cowboys won't try to acquire a running back. I don't know why they won't try to trade for a run-stuffing D tackle, because based on what we saw this past weekend, a banged-up, lowly 49ers team, probably at the lowest that they've been since Shanahan got them ascending to being a championship contender, and then they come out in the second half and just whip the Cowboys coming off a bye week. I know the Cowboys are banged up, but so are the 49ers. Cowboys, you're not close.
No, and I don't
you're
this
not close.
And as much I don't get. I get Jerry Jones not doing it because Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones. So I don't get anything he does, but I do get it because I don't get it with Jerry Jones. I don't get Mike McCarthy just sitting around like this. And maybe he's in his office and he's just a real good soldier and doesn't say anything out in public. But if I'm Mike McCarthy, every presser at this point, I'm like, we need help. We need help. I'm going to put pressure on Jerry Jones. He's firing me at the end of the year anyway. I know he's firing. I know I'm not getting a new contract. He hasn't re-signed me. He's not going to. Yeah. And the only way I can get him to re-sign me is to win, and I can't win with what the team I have. I need more talent. So I'm at least going to go out and go, everyone else is getting players. I'm not getting, won't give me a running back. He signed me Zeke Elliott like an idiot. We can say now we're saving him for the second half of the season. Come on. So dumb.
No, it is so dumb.
You have all that. I'd go out and I'd be demonstrative about this at a certain point. I mean, at least we saw Mike Zimmer at points say we need a nose. And he got what he wanted because he went to the press and said it. If you're Mike McCarthy, you got what? This is the trade deadline's next Tuesday.
Play the game. Yeah.
You got it now to come out and say, hey man, we need players. We need to be on the trade. And I mean, even if you just go at the trade deadline, we need to be as active as we can be. There's definitely some holes we need to fill on this team. And then you can say afterwards, even if you don't get it, you go, I'm trying to get my team motivated to play better. You can use it to say no one's job is safe. You can use it to say all these things, but the thought that everyone's job is safe on the Cowboys because we're not going to go get anybody else, and the guys behind you aren't good enough to play.
Yeah.
That's the basic motivation for the Cowboys. Don't worry about it. Jerry's never going to get rid of you because he likes his guys.
He loves his guys.
So he's not getting rid of you. He drafted you. You're a Cowboy until you can't be on the field. So if you can stay on the field, you're probably going to be a Cowboy for as long as you want to be.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, I don't know why I brought it back to the Cowboys, but just another team that thought they were the Chiefs are not close, but close to the three-peat. Yes. Like they're chasing something. Everybody else is chasing the Chiefs. But if you think you're close to the Chiefs, like the Texans did, or the Bills did, or the Ravens did, the Ravens are like, we're close to the Chiefs. All right, what can put us over the top? Derrick freaking Henry. Let's go. Let's do it. And the Cowboys, if they thought they were close, what could put you over the top? And they're like, our guys. We like our guys to put us over the top. And I think that's ultimately why the Cowboys are regressing and falling behind here. I will say this about the Chiefs, though, if you're not paying attention. The defense, second best rush defense in the league, actually. Second best rush defense in the league. And they're top 5 total defense and scoring defense. They're winning right now because of their defense. And I think this is just them investing in what their strength already is. But they're really good against the run. I mean, they've faced Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson already. They faced Jordan Mason in that 49er run attack. They faced Alvin Kamara. And yet they're still a second best team against the run in the league. So the Chiefs, the Chiefs have evolved right under our nose, and now they're like a defensive juggernaut. And Patrick Mahomes is a game manager. It's like what happened? But only during like the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter he puts his cape on, and then he starts making magic happen. It's very frustrating. All right, something else that's frustrating is a team like the Lions. Sorry, go ahead. You said something to say. You had something you wanted to say, Patrick?
No.
Sorry. Okay. The 50-point burger. If you're Tennessee, the 50-point burger that Tennessee allowed to the Lions was the most unlikely in history. I brought some of these stats up earlier because it's just so mind-blowing. So it was the 73rd time a team had scored 50 points since the turn of this century. Matter of fact, it was the second time. It was a 52-14 score. It was the second time that the Lions have hit 50 this season, which is also crazy. I mean, how often do you hit up 50 points in a season twice? I would like to see that number. I'd love to see that research done. Maybe I can just go do it myself, but who's at that kind of time? So it was the 73rd time a team has scored 50 points since the turn of the century, but Jared Goff had only had 85 yards passing. As a matter of fact, he finished with 52 net yards passing. The offense had just 2 explosive plays, and they scored 50 points. It was the first time a team scored 50 while averaging fewer than 3 yards per drop back. The previous low was 5.3 yards per drop back when scoring 50 points. No team had scored 50 points with fewer than 3 explosive plays. Detroit did it with just 2 explosive plays. And it was mostly because of like great return yardage. Strangely enough, there were 262 yards generated on just returns alone by the Lions special teams. Khalil Dorsey had a 72-yard kickoff return. Khalif Raymond had a 64-yard return, then had a 90-yard punt return overall. Raymond had 190 return yards on his own. Just freaky, crazy stuff. And if you go back looking at Jared Goff's passing yards, because he was efficient. He was 12 of 15, but he only had 85 total passing yards to score 50-something points. And by the way, a lot of this was because those special teams returns. They started 5 of their 13 drives in Tennessee territory. A lot of short fields for them. But if you look at historically, how often a team scored 52 points in a game, or at least 50 plus points in a game, with their starting quarterback threw for 85 yards or fewer, it's never happened, actually. The closest was actually Bobby Lane with the Detroit Lions, September 26, 1954. He threw for 84 yards. His team scored 48 points, but he left the game at halftime with a viral infection and was replaced by Tom Dublinski. And they scored 48 points and he had 84 yards. But he would have had more than 84, I'm sure, and they would have scored at least 50 if Bobby Lane didn't have to leave the game. So that's the most most unlikely 50-point burger in the history of the NFL. There ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay
crazy,
scored
right?
50 earlier this season. Baker had 325 yards.
Good Lord.
In that game.
Like, how does that and they were outgained, guys. I forgot about that. They were outgained by the Tennessee Titans, guys. And not just outgained by like barely beat them out. No. They outgained Detroit 417 to 225 yards. How? Like, I don't understand how that happened. That's guys, they outgained them by like almost 190. That's crazy. Like, I don't understand how that happens. It's unbelievable. Like I said, that easily the most unlikely 50-point burger in NFL history. Just doesn't happen. Okay. The other unlikely ending to a game was the Washington Commanders with a Hail Mary walk-off win this past weekend over the Chicago Bears. It was 1 versus 2, 1 in the NFL draft, Caleb Williams, versus 2, Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels obviously has outplayed the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams, but the Bears are winning games. But Jaden Daniels had to work his magic, and he ended up throwing a Hail Mary touchdown that traveled 50 plus yards in the air. That was like 50, I think it was 54 yards air yards. And Noah Brown ended up coming up with the tipped pass. It ended up being a tipped pass, ended up being a game-winning touchdown. And Jaden Daniels had 12, damn near 13 seconds. He bought himself 13 seconds of time so that his guys can get to position so that they could complete or execute the Hail Mary. It was the longest completion, basically, that is the longest completion on a throw that took over 10 seconds since 2016. That's as far back as they could go. That's as far back as their research will allow them to go. That Hail Mary. And another crazy part about it is, and we've been doing research on this, so Tyreek Stevenson, and turns out, because I listened to some audio of Matt Eberflus talking about it. So Tyreek Stevenson was a cornerback or a defensive back for the Bears during the Hail Mary play. He is seen on video taunting the crowd right before the ball is snapped, and as the ball is snapped, taunting the crowd, taunting the Washington fans right before they complete the Hail Mary walk-off touchdown. And turns out Matt Eberflus has indeed confirmed he was not only the guy that went and tipped the pass that Noah Brown ended up catching, that he was responsible for Noah Brown. His job was to box him out. Remember I said you're supposed to have a guy plastered on every player? He was supposed to be plastered to Noah Brown. So he's taunting the crowd, and his guy that he's supposed to be plastered to, the way plaster works is on a Hail Mary, every available receiver going down the field will have a defender assigned to him. You plastered on that guy. You follow them everywhere they go. And when the ball is thrown, only your receiver can take you to the convergence point or where the ball is going to be. You go with him. You're not going to play the football. You're going with the receiver. So that if the ball is tipped and that receiver is trying to make a play on it, you're there to knock the ball away or to swat at his hands or whatever. So that the whole point of the offense is they're trying to tip the ball up so that the receiver gets the ball and can go, high pointed and make a play on it. And so that's why. So it was indeed. So I apologize to Matt Eberflus earlier in the show. I said, "Oh man, that's a dang coaching mistake." If he didn't have that, I guess the coaching mistake would be he only rushed 3 and had a spy. Probably should have just had that guy rushing and blitzing Jaden Daniels, because you don't want him to have 12.7 seconds to throw the football, have his guys get in position. But the guy that was taunting the crowd was the irony of this. The karma is taunting the crowd on that last play. It was his man, Noah Brown, that catches the touchdown, and he was supposed to be plastered to him. And if he was, he'd have easily knocked that ball down, because it was like once he got tipped, it was just a duck. It floated a little bit. It made an easy catch for Noah Brown because he was unopposed. There was no
everybody's in this
within.
big pile.
Everybody
was
was in
one
the
guy
mosh.
right behind it, which is part of the play, which you're supposed to do. But there's also supposed to be someone behind with you to say, "Don't do that." That's
And it was him, the guy taunting the crowd. So he literally was not focused. He was distracted from his job. And he got over there to swat the ball away. Good for him. But it was like, that wasn't your job, though. In the end, your job was not to go swat the ball to tip it up.
He did a double back because he went, "I'm going to go show them by being the guy to go poke the ball, and I'll save the play at the end. And so then I'll taunt them and win the game."
Yes. That's exactly what he was thinking. And it's like, nope, you got to do your job, man. If you had done your job, you'd be fine. But you wanted to, you're right. He was thinking about, oh no, I want to be the hero here.
I wonder too, like when he does that, as he's hitting the ground, he's probably not looking back yet, but he hears the crowd.
Oh man.
And you're just like, I feel like something bad just happened.
Yeah. And then you realize it's your guy. And you're like, that's my man. Oh no. I was taunting the crowd before the play. Oh no. But Matt Eberflus was very kind. He said he's basically they were asking, like, the fans out there was a radio show asking him to be benched, and then Matt Eberflus was like, "Nah, we're not going to bench him." Basically,
no. Is that the best "Want to Get Away" commercial?
Oh, that would be a great one. That would be an awesome one. That'd be a pretty damn good endorsement there. All right, there you go. So the other kind of unlikely scenario we wanted to talk about, we got into it earlier, was Jameis Winston and him leading a Herculean effort for the Browns to pull off the upset win over the Ravens. And in that game, you just got to give props, man. You got to give a lot of props to Jameis Winston. He was 27 of 41, 334 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, and he ended up having, and by the way, he had 9.6 air yards per completion. So we're not talking about a check down Charlie. He's going down the field. About almost 10 yards per completion. That was the highest for a Browns quarterback since week 16 of last year. So he was going down the field on that Ravens defense and made a lot of plays. He had a 115.3 passer rating. So just saying, the Browns won't be an easy pushover now that Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback. So he's a boomer bust guy. He had 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in the same season. He's the idiot savant at quarterback. He may look like the best quarterback on one play and the worst on the next play, but still he makes the Browns a better team. All right, we come back. We'll get into this Mike Elko sound. He spoke to the media about the Aggies. He's saying the Aggies are for real. They're a real program. He wants people to listen up. We'll hear that audio, and we'll talk about the Aggies. 7-1, same record as the Longhorns, both top 10 programs right now. Oh, could we be foreshadowing the greatest Texas A&M matchup in the history of the rivalry? Possibly. We'll talk about that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis and Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Baby's coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to Rod's rant of the day. Real quick, just want to talk about the Aggies. Big win for the Aggies, 7-1 now. Looks like things are trending toward the Texas A&M game, being maybe the biggest in Texas A&M history. They haven't played in a decade plus, and it looks like the first rivalry, rekindling this rivalry between Texas A&M and Texas. Texas and Texas A&M could be, I think, the biggest in the history of it. Now, both teams are 7-1. Both teams are top 10, and right now Texas is, like I said, if they win out and Texas A&M wins out, they don't Aggie it up. I think you'll have SEC title implications, and there is a chance. I haven't looked at all the tiebreakers, so I really don't know, exactly how it would work. But I know if there is a potential chance that you can get them back to back, too. You could get the Longhorns and the Aggies playing a back to back game if they play an SEC title game on top of playing that last game of the season. So Mike Elko really proud of his team, and he should be, because they played really well versus A&M, and versus LSU. They had to bench their starting quarterback, Connor Wegman. So they've benched him, and now Marcel Reed looks like he's going to be the guy going forward. I don't see them making another move at quarterback, but it could happen, unless, like I said, they're forced to with an injury. I think they're going to stick with Marcel Reed here. But he spoke about the culture of his program. He was asked about, how's the culture different now with you as opposed to when you got here as the head coach. And here's Mike Elko. He goes into, I think how proud he is really of the Aggie culture now and how different it is. Here is Mike Elko.
We're very honest. We're very open. And this is a real program. It's not fake. It's not a politician running this program, talking fast and BSing everybody. This is a real program. And for all the recruits out there, this is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
All right, there you go. It's a real program. Some people thought he was directing those comments at someone specific, talking about this is a real program, this not no politician, fast talking. Some people thought, oh, is he directing that at Jimbo Fisher? Some people thought, oh man, is he directing that at Brian Kelly? Is he directing that maybe at CDC in Texas? Who's he talking about here? Well, here's Mike Elko clarifying that he's not talking to anybody in specific. He's just talking to everybody.
Just the last thing, and it's just comical that I actually have to do this, but it's necessary. In the post game, I was asked to kind of give a synopsis on how we sell culture to our program. In doing so, I made a statement that seemed like a very benign statement that somehow managed to be taken as a shot directly at people. You guys gave me multiple opportunities in 9 months to take shots at people, and I've never done it. I have nothing but respect for Coach Fisher. I've said nothing but positive things about Coach Fisher. I'm the head coach at Texas A&M because of Coach Fisher. I appreciate who he is, everything that he's done. And for anybody in the media to think that that was what I was doing post LSU is it's asinine. And for it to be about any other head coach who gave me an opportunity and hired me, and that's not who I am. I've never been that person, and it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. So I wanted to make sure that everybody knows I wasn't talking to anybody directly. So from there, I'll open it up to questions.
Down front, Brett, and then Nolan.
That's Elko saying, I wasn't talking about anybody specifically. I was just talking to everybody that, hey, this is a new program here with the Aggies. And it is right now, the Aggies are legit. I mean, they're going to be a legit threat for the Longhorns down the stretch here. That's the toughest game you got left, and we already knew it was going to be a religious experience for Aggie fans. But Longhorns obviously going to Aggie land, rekindling the rivalry for the first time in a decade plus. But now the Aggie's going to be good. And we talked about this in the offseason. I know a lot of Longhorn fans wanted to scoff and mock it, and I get why. That the Aggies, I was asked the question, hey, let's play the hypothetical. What if they're good? What if they're good? What if when you have to play the Aggies, they're a 2-loss team, 1-loss team? Most Longhorn fans mock that. Folks, we're getting dangerously close to having to actually, confront that realization that no, you got to go there and they're good. They're not just good. They're better than any, basically higher ranked than any other time any Longhorn team has had to go to Aggie Lane and play them, potentially. In 1975, is the last time, only time actually, that the Longhorns and the Aggies have had double-digit win seasons in the same season. Part of the paranoia between these two fan bases is that neither fan base believes that both programs can be good at the same time. And historically, you'd be right about that. Historically, it says actually, Texas and Texas A&M are never really good at the same time. When Texas is good, A&M is down. When A&M is good, Texas is down. But in 1975, Texas and A&M were both good. They were both 10-win teams. Only time they've been double-digit win programs in the same season in 118 years or whatever the hell it is they've been playing, however long it is. And A&M was 2 and Texas was 5. And I believe A&M won 20-10. But it doesn't happen very often. I think the Aggies are number 10 right now. The Longhorns are number 6. If both take care of business leading to that game, there's a good chance with all the chaos that happens around them that both squads will be hovering around being top 5 teams.
It could be.
I don't know if they'll be a 2 and a 5, but you'll be really close.
Yeah, and the thing about this Aggie team that is they're just finding ways to win, which is not necessarily who you want to play in a rivalry game, because there is going to be issues. I mean, this is a team that when they beat Missouri, everybody said, watch out, Connor Wegman is going to be this killer quarterback. We saw what he did. He's there, and how he has already been benched. And now Marcel Reed is going to be, watch out, this killer quarterback. But they're still finding a way to win. It would not surprise me if Connor Wegman plays again this season, just because I think they're going to get found out again. I don't think they have an offense that is good enough right now because they just don't have the quarterback. But at the same part, they're finding ways to win, and you put that into a rivalry game, and that's when he gets scary.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Yeah, and they believe. They believe in this young man, Marcel Reed. They believe in their coach too, Michael. This is a dangerous Aggie team, man. That's no doubt about that. All right, so we could be on the cusp of the biggest Texas A&M game in the history of the rivalry this year. In the SEC title implications on the line. Both teams hovering around being top 5, definitely top 10 teams.
Crazy. It just means more.
You damn right it does. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into Who Said That. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues, familiarity of the voice, you have to identify and recall who said that. We'll play that when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the Horn. Welcome back to The Rodcast is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when my co-host, the Idillionaire Patrick Davis, plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. So we appreciate him hooking us up. All of our musically themed days of the week. Also, he comes up with the topic for the big fat poll of the day, which is already posted right now on the X account at the Horn ATX. A simple question: what does Texas need to work on most during the bye week? And right now, 45% of you who've been surveyed say penalties is should be the number one priority and emphasis for the Longhorns during this bye week. 36% of you say pass protection, and then 10% say downfield passing game. So there you go. Go vote on our topic of the day, the big fat poll of the day, on Horn AT at the Horn ATX on X. All right, let's get to the segment of Who Said That. That's when Patrick plays pieces of audio from the sports world, sometimes beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues or familiarity of the voice, you have to identify and recall who said that.
A few minutes ago, just said he called this a moment of darkness for this team. Is that how you see it, and how do you get out of it? I mean, because you could just stay in darkness as well.
Yeah, I've been in the darkness. You got to go in there, make peace with it. Offensively, our goal has just got to be score 30. Doesn't matter what the other two sides are doing. You know, we have trust in our defense and teams, but we're not scoring 30. We're underachieving. This offense can do that every single week.
Oh, that's Aaron Rodgers. The darkness. Oh, I've been in the darkness. Went to a darkness retreat, right? Isn't that the whole point of the darkness retreat?
I've been in the darkness. So hard being a star athlete. I'm a quarterback who's a millionaire, and I got to pick what team I went to. Life is so hard in the darkness.
It's like Christian Bale. He was like, he felt like it was a very Batman vibe. I've been in the darkness.
I've been in the darkness. It's my life so hard all the time. I keep saying dumb things, and people get mad at me like I'm not supposed to be able to say them. I say offensive things to people's faces, and they're like, "Why would you say that?" I'm like, "Because I can." Darkness.
You got to embrace it.
Embrace the darkness.
Got to embrace the darkness.
Make peace with the darkness.
Make peace with the dark. He's like his version of Dark Knight. We'll see if it inspires them because they've lost their last two games. Robert Saleh's feeling good right now, and he's like, "I told y'all." So it wasn't me.
Well, he's with the Vikings now, right?
I know, but he's like, I'm part of the solution.
Yeah.
Not the problems. They got some more problems now that I'm gone. All right. Good stuff there, Patrick. Appreciate you. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We'll be talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. And until next time, hook 'em and peace.